This is the XNC Podcast, your Xbox newscast featuring Colteastwood, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, XNC Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the XNC Podcast live. Welcome to the show. This is episode 36, and what a collaboration. If you've fixed your eyes onto the YouTube screen of your choice, be it your huge TV, your phone, or your console of choice, I've got the collaboration of GameOn Daily. I just can't take anything seriously when I've got somebody like Gaz, but when you've got somebody like Asa, two guys from GameOn Daily, you've got Jekyll and Hyde. Very smart dudes talking about gaming stuff, but also super good friends. So I feel very privileged that we get to sit down tonight and talk about the hot news of the week with people we absolutely love. But I got to give a shout out to some of the people in the chat I see already, people whose names I see all the time for always supporting. Yodani, Ashtray, we got Capono, Risk It for the Biscuit, and let me scroll a little bit. Well, Gaz in the chat. We got Isa there, Brian Harris, so many of you. I'll give you shouts out as we go through the show. But before I introduce these two guys and let them use those microphones that they've fixed in front of their faces, I want to give a quick shout out. Some I don't do often, but I do want to shout out the veteran members and patrons from my channel, the people that are there every month. They get early access. I want to say thanks so much to Matt Burns, William Lanza, KY Bob, Phil, Yodani Kozada, Suicide King, Nano Polymath, Assassin Lupa, Gamer McFly, Robert Jackson, Lord Starkiller, XCX, XSS. I always say C, but he knows who I am and I know who he is. Alex Wilson, Dante J. Moody, Betamax, Dark CMF, Gaz is one of them, Adam McCartney, Rodney Coots, Fox Storytelling, just a few more, Wreaks Havoc, Fault Lines, Zener White, Devario 2, Gaming, and the people who are also, there's some that spill over to the channel member and Patreons. You guys get special badges that I drew up. You get start out with Joanna Dark, move your way up to Master Chief. It's amazing. We got other people like Gab Quee, Stephen Smith, Scott Conister, Ricky Fallon, Mark Cardwell, All Might, Jazzy Noob, Xbox. Gosh, these people have been around in the community so long. Julian Molina, Asa Phelps, yeah, and Maurice Baker. So I want to give a shout out to those people. I want to do that more often, but who we really need to give a shout out is the people who are going to be providing us so much entertainment, mingled with a little bit of news. And I'll start with one of my good friends, Gaz from GameOn Daily.
Yeah! Thank you so much for having me, man. How many members you got? But I recognize a lot of those names as well. They're great members of the community. Without them, it would be nothing. What a pleasure. I've made it. Mom, I'm famous. I'm famous. Thank you so much for the invite, man. I can't wait for the chat. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be sick. This is not a family show anymore.
It's a family show as long as you got the button. The other guy I gotta give props to is I thought of this person as like the quiet, the silent protagonist, and when he speaks, the people listen. The man who's got all the right answers, Asa from GameOn Daily. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much, Carl. And you know what? I've got all of the same irritating tools as Gaz. And I never use them.
No, don't do that.
But so happy to be here. I mean, we had a good chat on Saturday, as you know, and there's just so much we can talk about. We can talk for hours, so we get some more today.
Yes. So we'll try and get some audio stuff ironed out. A program I use, I don't have full control. Like I can't just totally throw these guys around with their audio set, but we'll get Gaz to bring his mic up. I think Asa, for me, you probably sound like you're voice is just right.
Can we do a little bit of test? Do I sound okay, people?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, just stay on the mic, and that should be a good volume, I think. How's it sound, Asa? We'll sit here and do technical support live on the air, but we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. But I'll ask quickly before I ask you what you've been playing, guys. I want you to talk about this video you put out this morning. You sent this to me late last night as I was just laying down. You're like, "Hey, do you have headphones? I got to send you a video." And you gave me like a preview of the latest thing on the GameOn Daily YouTube channel. What'd you do?
Apart from burn bridges for the sake of comedy, it's just really making fun. I was itching to make this the moment I found out the news about it, because let's be honest, I haven't been very quiet about how much sometimes, or all the time, Sony's approach to next gen and its messaging annoyed me. I've always said for years it was really like that. Nothing against PlayStation, contrary to what my behavior might suggest, but I don't like some of the kind of snakeskin or snake oil messaging. So I get it. You always put your best foot forward and you make a competition look bad, but it seemed so obvious to me. So I had to make a video. Give me a little bit, and I'll.
It came back to bite him, though. That's part of the reason why you did this video. Is they tried to kind of use that as ammo against Xbox, and it comes back.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm still really quiet. I have no idea. I'm gonna push this.
Asa, say something real quick, because I think you're.
Yeah, I'm perfectly.
Yeah, I mean,
volumized.
you're only like 25% down.
I've put that up a bit. I should be really.
That's good.
Loud now.
You should be good. I think the chat should be able to handle it. We should be pretty good. I'll try not to yell in the mic too much, so I don't overpower you. But I'll just go to Asa. What have you been playing? Because I saw something you played on Saturday. But what's been keeping you busy on video gaming?
Yeah. I mean, you know that I've been playing. I've got this ridiculous VR setup behind me, so I've been spending some time in that. But on the Xbox front, I dug into the Outer Wilds a little bit. Just Outer Wilds, not the. I get it confused with the Outer Worlds. Just that one word throws me off. But a little bit of Outer Wilds. I played what I started on the Xbox. Ember. Don't. If you're thinking I've got some friends that might like to fight fires, do it in real life. Don't do it in Ember. It's more fun in real life. Like, Ember is not a brilliant game, unfortunately. Yeah. Loads of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Asa and I didn't really explain it, but he's got a whole VR setup where it's like a moving treadmill underneath his feet, and he put up some footage. Please go check out the GameOn Daily Go Live podcast that was up on Saturday, and he put up a clip toward the end and just kind of exploded the chat. We were all laughing. The live chat was having some good laughs, and but check that out. But I've been playing Mass Effect a little bit again and playing Grounded like crazy with my kids. I won't get into that, but I got kind of a funny, kind of a frustrating warm-up topic I want to talk about. This morning, VGC, a tech and gaming website, interviewed a scalper about his situation of getting PS5s and Xbox Series X's to people who desperately need them. So I'll give you guys the setup and then kind of let you run with it. But basically, he said he runs a subscription service, and he has 1,500 members that belong to his subscription service that get an in and easy access to consoles so they can buy them themselves, hold them in their house, and scalp them on the third-party market, or whatever you would call it, secondhand market. So he said that he is making well over $40,000 a month.
What?
In US dollars, just from that subscription fee, just from the what would you call it? What do they call it? The dues, the monthly dues for the people who pay him a certain amount of money. You can do the math. They pay him a certain amount of money. He gives them access to all these consoles. We don't know if he gets access to like a wholesaler, or he knows somebody in the port or in the export-import service that can get them to them first before they hit retail. Because obviously he said that his customers, his subscribers, his employees are getting 30-some consoles to themselves to turn around and, as he says, quote, sell for about $100 more. But everyone knows most PS5s are selling for close to $1,000 for double the price. Xbox Series X is like 1.5 times more. So I'm going to start with Asa. What do you think about this scalping situation? This guy saying, one more thing I got to say is he said it's okay. He's helping these people spend more time with their families and buy nice new cars for their wives and renovate their homes because they're making great money on a luxury that is considered video gaming.
So
there we go.
On the one hand, you think about it and you feel a little bit sick that someone can get away with doing that. On the other hand, I've given up on hating. Like, you can't beat these people. There's no point in having that negative energy for them. It's the way that the market is. The more bitter you get, the more it's going to hurt you when they continue to scalp and continue to win and continue to get rich off of it. So let it go. Let it out. They're going to be
okay.
It's just.
I feel like Ace is the angel on my shoulder, and I feel like Gaz is over here with a totally different opinion.
I completely agree. No, I'll be honest with you. It's market forces. I never understood. I get it. I get the hate for them, but really it should be directed at companies who don't know how to mitigate these kind of things. You know, let's be honest. If you draw your mind back to when the consoles launched, yes, both were subject to scalping. But remember, PlayStation handled its launch by, it had a set date and it dishonored it and it went out in the wild. There are ways and safeguards for companies to employ. I think PlayStation has now direct PlayStation. Today they announced you can get one and reserve one per household and all that stuff.
Through their invite, right?
Yeah, and it's never foolproof, but the figures you're throwing at me is insane. And now you're saying, $40,000 a month. Where do I apply it? I mean, it's insane that's the money the guy is making from.
He's making
subs.
over 10 times more than some of us who are doing really well in the middle class. He's making 10 times more than a middle class person here in North America. Yeah.
Yo, that's ridiculous money. That's from the subs, not from the consoles he's selling, right? He's just the subs. And they're making more money, so it's cascading down. So, scalpers seem to have all the PlayStations. What's going on?
You can see, guys, he's typing up on Google now, like he's going to set this service up himself. You've got his eyes
right?
Jeez.
I mean, there's a fool everywhere, right? But we have to blame the people who just say, you know what, to heck with it. I'm spending, $750. I need a Series X, or I'm going to spend $900 whatever to get a PS5. It is obviously happening.
Yeah, mate. You know what though? It's ultimately it sucks. I know my brother managed to get one today, and he joined a Discord group, and I think it was PlayStation Direct, and he got it in 10 seconds, and he just happened to get this notification. I don't know how it works. He was so lucky to do this, and this is today. So he was like, "Yes, I got my PS5." I'm like, "Great, there are no games." I mean, no.
Yes.
No, but it's it is pretty
took
bad.
A year. It took him a dang year, man.
Yeah, it took a long time. And you know what? People were saying, a lot of people downplay the fact that a lot of scalpers have PS5s, but I don't think you should downplay that at all, especially now with the pivotal time compared to how Xbox is doing the momentum and selling with the Series S and all that. So, people are downplaying it, but a sizable chunk of scalpers have these PlayStations, man. It's not good for Sony.
I just checked my phone to see if my calculator still had the math. His group only has, he says he has 1,500 members, and then he said, our members have 30 consoles at home, and I'm like, that's only 45,000 consoles. That's not even that's nothing. But he's not the only one that does this.
There are loads.
I got to add in here. I had Gaming Forte. I had Forte on here a couple weeks ago, and he said something that people may not want to hear, but he said, you can get a console. You just have to try. And I'm like, Forte? But he's really the days of walking into a Walmart while you're getting, or just saying, I want to go to Walmart because I want a console. Those days may be ruined, if you want a GPU or whatever, right? But he said, if you try really hard, if you're paying attention, if you're using all of the different notifications, you can get one. But I don't like that answer. And I got to add one more thing. Somebody asked me, when can we stop calling it next generation? What do you think of this, Asa? I say when everyone can finally get a console without, breaking someone's skull open.
Yeah. It's quite a small circle because I obviously have the consoles, Gaz does, and you can know people that have got them and it can feel like they're available because you know people that have got them. But you only need to open your eyes and look at social media in general to know that there are a lot of people that really do want these, that are paying attention, that have not been able to get them. So yeah, that's a bit closed off, I would say. I think there is a problem getting hold of these consoles.
Yeah, there definitely is.
I mean, they're not in the shops, so what more do you need to see? When can you stop calling them next gen?
Next gen.
I don't call them next gen myself. I mean, normally when you read it, there's some context and you can kind of figure out what's being spoken about. So I don't get upset if people call them next gen consoles. Nothing upsets me. So I'm back to the zen again. Chill out. Scalpers, next gen labels. It's all good.
That is so Asa. Like, nothing upsets him. He reads this guy making 45 grand a month, just scalping the entire world. And he's like, you know what? I'm happy for him. No, I'm just kidding. I want to give a shout out to Mo B with thank you so much for the $5. He says, super hype for XNC and GameOn Daily. It's going to be a great show. Everybody hit that like button. Let's get sauced. So yeah, if you're having a good time, if you think this show is going to be worth your time, you can minimize the chat, hit the like button, and come on right back. See if we can get 500 likes and get a bunch of people in here to enjoy the show. Udani Kozada, who's been a member for 25 months, says, well, your mic was quiet, but he says, Sony fans and believing generations, I think them selling PS4s is kind of cool, to be honest. They're under warranty for longer. We're going to get into the PS4 thing in a minute. And Fonzarelli, one of my best friends, thanks for the $5 super chat. He says, great to see our good friends Gaz and Asa here. Also, dig the shirt, Colt. The Ant-Man shirt, man.
That's
thank you.
Shirt. That's such a sick shirt.
I like it. Thank you. You know what? I think it's better that I'm wearing a shirt on the show and not doing shirtless, but I got to give a shout out to Fonz. He did a video a few days ago about the NFT thing, and people are kind of going crazy. And Troy Baker really upset people. I don't want to talk about this for longer in a minute, but he said, "Hey, you can either hate or you can create." And so he's doing.
Funnily enough, there's a very good like interview with Alana Pierce, and then she brings him on. She's been a vocal like opponent of NFTs, so she had a very frank conversation with Troy, and I do kind of feel sorry for him because quite obvious he didn't actually know what was kind of what they were. That's what they came across as, and his tweet.
They just pitched it to him, and he.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's he's really thick. He doesn't understand it. But when he was talking about it, his mindset when he pushed the tweet wasn't. He's watching something apparently, and I don't know. Ultimately, it was Alana. Respect
it was an accident.
Huh?
He didn't mean it. He was like watching something, and he accidentally typed this tweet endorsing this NFT company. That
he was like,
"Hey, man." At the same time, like my ex-girlfriend said, she fell on someone else. I believed her. But no, sorry. But no, yeah, it's a bit messy, and he's dealing with the fallout of that. So
he is.
Yeesh, I don't hate to be him.
I started
I'll
to
be
see
there
that
soon with a source video. Someone's gonna get annoyed one day. So respect Troy.
So apparently they can voice print his voice, and then they can put Troy Baker's voice acting, so to speak, into other games or other media or whatever. Ace, have you looked into this thing? Like, this is kind of where we're heading
is
in the
that
world.
really
where
what it is?
Deep. Well,
it's
the problem with that is that actually sounds good. Not good. Like a robot Troy Baker wouldn't be as good as actually having him voice act, but you can actually see some use to the technology, which is rare for the NFTs. Normally, it's pretty abstract. So you have a receipt for something useless.
Yeah.
But now it sounds like you're talking about something.
If some company's doing an anime show or a one-off, or a smaller game developer studio needs a good voice, and they we really want Troy Baker, but it's $2 million to do this, or it's $50,000 to pay for his voice print, and he approves it, and then they run it through the computer, the script, and it kind of sounds, kind of works well enough for that, I suppose.
So there's two things on there. One of them is that's inherently that's the first example of an NFT that's sort of useful. The second point is that's got nothing to do with NFTs. Like, you could do that without. So
Right.
kind of not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a strange one.
A lot of voice actors are really annoyed by it. They say that it's gonna kill the whatever their voice industry.
It's like a drummer being upset at a drum machine. Yeah. I think Ace is right. I don't know how much that really has to do with NFTs, because one of these days, Gaz's deep fake with his voice all perfectly put in there is going to do something even crazier than you guys have done on your shows. But yeah. But there is some let's talk about this PS4 thing, because obviously we know PS4s are going to be reproduced or continue to be produced, and this isn't a new thing for PlayStation. So I'll kind of set this up. I know people have probably heard about this a little bit. I'll get this out of the way by saying PS4s will continue to be produced. Sony is committed to add another 1 million consoles, PS4s, which, if you think about it, though, 1 million of those could be gone in a holiday. So it's not a real big deal. But I want to start with Asa, because we talked about this on your show on Saturday. Asa, people think PlayStation's still making PS4, so they're going to hold all their games back. So let's talk about PS4 versions of games in the near future. Where do you sit?
Yeah, that's a thing. So Sony actually did pretty well in 2021 for supporting the PlayStation 5 with native PlayStation 5 games. They had Ratchet, they had Demon's Souls, and they had Returnal, and none of those had a PlayStation 4 version. For some reason, they've taken a step backwards for 2022, and the games that we know about, Horizon, Gran Turismo, God of War, are all cross-gen. And like I said to you on Saturday, for me, you can show me the very best example of a cross-gen game, which you'd probably have to say is Forza Horizon 5 at the moment.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, the echo's gone. Was that you, Gaz? Anyway, Forza Horizon 5. Yeah.
Asa had like a squirrel moment there for a minute.
I did. Sorry.
So you were saying
myself
Forza Horizon. Oh yeah, I could hear it slightly, but Forza Horizon 5 is like a great example of cross-gen. Still looks amazing. That's what you're getting at.
It's a great example of cross-gen. Still looks amazing, but you can give me that example, and I will not accept that it's not held back by its cross-gen kind of development. So Forza Horizon 6 will be better. And for like an example, have you ever seen Forza Horizon 5 on an Xbox One? It's playable, but the amount
I
of
actually have never seen it. No.
Oh, I have. I did a little tech analysis on it, and it's very playable. It's a nice game still, but it's way less like bushes and shrubs and things. And you have to consider in a cross-gen game.
Frames.
In a cross-gen game, though, all of this like lovely dense stuff that you can see on the Series X, only the ones that are also rendered on the Xbox One can actually have any function, any impact on your car. Otherwise, it's not going to work online. It wouldn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 6 will be a different beast for physics, and nobody can tell me otherwise. So Sony supporting cross-gen for longer is a shame to anyone with the PlayStation 5. It should be a shame. Well, it's only going to be a small fraction of the games, but they will get better when they don't.
Right, but it's their biggest ones. Gaz, like he's talking about God of War Ragnarok is cross-gen, and Horizon Forbidden West, and these might be the best looking games that come out in 2022, barring what we see, what Starfield looks like and what Forza Motorsport looks like. Like those, there's some pretty heavy hitters, but from what Asa is saying, Gaz, like talk about what's going on. God of War Ragnarok is supposed to be an eye-popping killer, and so is Horizon.
I mean, no one's going to... Well, you're going to be hard-pressed to argue that these aren't good-looking games. Horizon Forbidden West, from what we've seen, looks stellar. I mean, not next-gen stellar. It's a cross-gen game, after all, but it looks good. God of War, what we saw, looks great. But I'm with Asa all along, like... There's a reason why, when it was announced that God of War was cross-gen, that Colin Moriarty, a big PlayStation guy, was annoyed about it as well. Lots of guys, the heavy MBGs and the big PlayStation boys, they were really annoyed about it for a reason. It holds... I get it. See, and the dealer, don't hate me, but he says, graphics scale and all that, but... Asa's right. Graphics is a sum of loads of different things. Like you mentioned physics, Asa. That kind of stuff has a massive impact on the visual integrity of the game. Like Forza is a great example. The foliage and the lighting, all of that is a big reason for why I really was wowed by Forza's visuals. I hate cross-gen. I don't care. I've said this on our show Saturday. This makes me sound like a piece of but I hate cross-gen. I don't care if people can't get the consoles. I know it sounds really selfish, but I loved Sony's so-called plan of generations. I was there. I was like, just so tired of it. And look at Unreal Engine 5 in the demo. It just looks like, this feels like that's next gen, man. So if this causes PlayStation to teeter on the cross-gen, start doing that for longer, or delays the foray into next-gen completely, of course I'll be annoyed. I'll be so annoyed. And people downplay it, and I understand 1 million more PlayStation 4s isn't a massive amount. But if people are struggling, and half of these are held by scalpers, of course PlayStation's going to think, well, you know what? We need to go where the audience is, and they're not there on PlayStation. It's a big reason why everyone is saying it makes no sense to have next-gen only games. So the longer this goes on, it's a problem. See, a lot of people downplayed this PlayStation thing, by the way. They're like, oh, you Xbox guys are going a bit crazy with this news and going and celebrating it. Even, what's his name? That chap from Digital Foundry. And I just think, well, hold on a minute. This is a problem. The first year is so fundamental to how you start, devising your strategy going forward. As PlayStation struggles to get PlayStation 5s in homes, Xbox, courtesy of the Series S, is penetrating the household at a much faster rate with his next-gen consoles.
Yeah, with S and X.
That momentum, if it carries in the UK, the Xbox came second again. It beat PlayStation again. Yes, supply constraints. Blame it all you want.
I don't think they had as much of a. Maybe I shouldn't say that. The PS5, the first year, I think they sold as many as you would probably expect to sell. I think they sold more PlayStation 5s in 2020. Or 2021, I guess you'd call it, right? That first year, they sold more PlayStations than they ever had. So they apparently had built up enough supply to meet demand for one calendar year. It's 2022 where you're seeing the constraint where they feel like they can't deliver. And the funny thing about this, guys, is that their biggest games out of the gate, like you're saying, Gaz, about supporting next generation, their biggest games, barring Miles Morales, which is expansion, to kind of an expansion shoot-off, right? Returnal, Demon Souls, and Ratchet & Clank, like you said, Asa, big tentpole, big out front. I should have said Returnal's tentpole, but big out front next generation games. And then they turn around year 2, and their biggest games, their most prominent is a better word. Their most prominent games are cross-gen. That is such a weird messaging, and you have every right to give people a little bit of flack, right? And say, look, you said you believed in generations. You were bagging on the Xbox when Matt Booty said, year one, when we come out the gate, we're going to support the Xbox One for 1 to 2 years. At the time when he said it, it really meant the end of the very first year of the Xbox, because we go in, they were supposed to have Stalker and Redfall and Starfield and Forza were all next generation only. So they supported cross-gen in the first year. PlayStation comes out of the gate, Asa, and says, we're going to, we believe in generations. We believe in all generations. Because now, in the second year of a console where the PS4 should be, collecting dust at this point, cross-gen. So that's why.
Dan Lazaro, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He says, I literally just turned on the pod and already Gaz is talking about something he hates. If you know anything about Dan Lazaro, he would complain even if he was in heaven. So it's quite ironic he made that comment. Thank you for the super chat.
And if Dan Lazaro is here with XNC and GameOn Daily collab, he is in heaven. He's in heaven.
Oh, well said. Well said.
Shout out to the Kush Master with a $5 super sticker, a little anime sticker says you're number one. I think he's talking about Asa, but yeah, that's amazing. Kabini Gaming with $5 super says, been playing Horizon on my PC with it. Oh, you must be talking about Horizon Zero Dawn. I almost said Forbidden West. It's so funny when you see my little tiny brain start like crackling and fizzling trying to get something out of it. He says, I've been playing, he or she says, I've been playing for Horizon on my PC with an Xbox controller, loving the game. It's native 4K 120 max graphics. Kabini Gaming has a killer PC, apparently. This is my first Sony game. God of War is next. Yes, Horizon Zero Dawn looks fantastic. Even on a base PS4 where I played it, a pretty good game, and I expect great things on the next one. So, yeah, I mean, that's the generation thing, and we pretty much covered like that's kind of what I wanted to really speak on is does this really mean
take some knees, man?
Does this really mean that a place go ahead, Gaz, take a knee or two.
Come on, man. Why did PlayStation get away with so much of this egregious nonsense when I gave flack for it. We all did. Xbox was upfront about it day one, and we were like, we beat the crap out of them. But then Sony didn't say anything, and it's so bad. It's so defiant. Like it's such a you know what? Sony get away with so much this generation. Like the $70 thing that's taking the mick. The whole lack of, the game share, not game sharing, how it works.
Upgrades.
Yeah, it's so annoying. And then this is like Sony fans, you should be annoyed as well. You'd be like, what? Don't treat us like mugs, man. Tell us straight how it is. Just because you like to corporate one-up the other person for the sake of telling the truth. Where's your integrity? It genuinely annoys me. Like you treat your consumers as mugs.
Just for clarity, like this is Gaz at 1:30 in the morning. He has padded walls there in the day. He's like bouncing off them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I like Gaz at all throttles and all registers. I love it. But Hargit Chani, a good friend, we've been talking on Xbox Live like almost every day on chat and kind of hanging out playing games. He says PS5 is likely going to be supply constrained compared to the Series S. Let me stop where he wrote from there, because today they announced that the Series S saw not a price cut. It was on sale. It was lower than the $299, and before they could put out the announcement, I can't remember what site it was. I shared it on Twitter. It was sold out. So Series S, I think there's this funny perception that the little white Series S is loading and filling retail shelves all over the world. Like, I just don't think that's true. I just think there's a few there, here and there. I've only seen them a couple times, but I don't know. He says overclocking is making the PS5 have lower yield. Series S will likely outdo the PS5. And if he means his sales, there was an announcement today that in the UK, which is just like a vertical slice of what's going on in the world. In the UK, the Series S and X are in second place behind the Nintendo Switch, and PS5 is in last place. So, yeah.
See, this is massive. This is massive. This is, if the Xbox can take back the US and the UK, two regions it lost decisively last generation, we're back to 360 days where Xbox was reigning. Like, you could say this is now neck and neck. And things like this momentum will happen because the longer it goes on, the mind share of I'm seeing it on the ground, because we're gamers, so I'll get all my non-gamer friends. Oh, hey guys, you're a video game guy. Where can I get a PlayStation? And I've been hearing that so much during COVID, especially. Can you imagine all these people who kind of mocked me, like, I'm the sad little gamer guy, all flooding my DMs, like, hey guys, I want to get it for my son. And now people are still like, oh, what should I get? Can I get an Xbox? And they're buying Series S's. I'm not joking. So the longer this keeps going on, people are going to say Game Pass, prices are stupid, more games, more optics, more Series S available. The kids are not going to wait for another 2 years for getting their hands on a PS5. Not saying that's how long it will take, but the way it's going, if the US and UK are reclaimed, Xbox gonna create some souls.
Risk It for the Biscuit says, the £2 thank you, Risk It. He says, Gaz, they get away with it because the fans let them. PlayStation gets away with these. They kind of do this political mudslinging thing, right? You put it in your video.
I don't mind it as well. I don't mind it. It's corporations fighting. This is why the source exists. Ultimately, it's competition. But I'm the core gamer. I also have a right to be annoyed by it. But this is what companies do. Don't listen, Phil.
But Xbox rarely slings mud. Asa, what do you think?
Come on. Don't be fooled by Phil Spencer's smiley face. Phil, I know you watch this. Please don't block me. But
he did tell the media in a media exclusive interview about a year ago that PlayStation. No, he didn't use the word PlayStation. I have the video clip on my desktop. I'm not allowed to share it. It's called G14 Classified is the name of the file because I'm not allowed to share it. But Phil said that there are other platforms that charge you to play their games on console and then wait and charge you again on PC. And he's not talking about Nintendo, and he's definitely not talking about the Ouya. So
look, Phil is good friends with Aaron Greenberg, and Aaron Greenberg is my spirit animal, and there's a reason for that because he likes
the green machine.
Shots. They're all like Xbox marketing. Look at that. Come on, you saw Dealer Gaming put that in his video. Remember that the Microsoft said, like, you know, something you change a pony or something. They know what they're doing. It's always warfare and business. Don't be fooled by Phil Spencer's smiles. Behind that, there's intent to kill. I love you, Phil.
Asa, what do you Asa, what's nothing to do with like the blood-soaked battlegrounds, but
oh no, it's funny because Microsoft were a lot more aggressive in that console competition marketing in the 360 and going into the Xbox One era. They are under like Phil's leadership, they are way more kind of civil and diplomatic. Phil has he has a silver tongue, which doesn't mean that he lies all the time. It means he always knows exactly what to say to what people. He's flawless with his PR. Like, he's incredible at it. But the Xbox of old, do you remember when Destiny came out and PlayStation had like a marketing deal with it? So Xbox made the Destiny fragrance. They were always taking little shots at each other, and they ran their ferry past the PlayStation 3 launch event celebrating the Xbox and things like that. Like, they've got a history of playing these games that Gaz loves so much. They have
it is
themselves from it a little bit.
It is more calculated. It just seems like PlayStation is like way out front, and I got a little bit of flack because I had like 3 or 4 PlayStation related tweets in a row this past week, and I don't make videos about that stuff, but I do like to get the conversation going. But PlayStation was in the news cycle and not in the best of light. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the show, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Phil, because there's a lot going on with what the articles that came out about him. Snarkcast has been around the show for years. Thank you so much. Says padded walls. I knew it. Gaz is legit insane. Go back like 6 months, and he's wearing a straight jacket on one of his videos,
which I still have.
And of course, Asa will be in there too. You guys. Sometimes we look at Asa and we think, now there's a level-headed fella. And then you get him on these sauce videos. He says some great stuff.
I drag him down with my madness.
We love this stuff.
Have you seen him on VR? He's more psychotic than anything I've ever done. You saw it.
Yeah, I really strongly recommend later on to go to check out the whole show. I'm on there with Tony, Samurai Kajibi. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Kajibiji. There you go. I love it. Yeah, he's amazing. So we were on there, and toward the end of the show, Asa put up him playing that VR, and we laughed so hard. Definitely worth checking out. Fun. Crazy Night Boy with the New Zealand $2. Thank you so much. He says, I own 2 Series X's and 1 Series S. Love you, Gaz. Woo! That's amazing. Hey, and he's going to scalp those for $40,000. No, I'm just kidding. Danny Passion Official says, congrats on the sauce video today. GameOn Daily. Yeah, that's what I went to sleep watching that thing. He sent it to me. Gaz was like at 12:30 in the morning. You still awake? And then he sends it my way. So, well, let's get into the meat of the topics. We've got a major problem with Xbox right now. Totally out of their hands, but Stalker 2 has been delayed to December, which puts it out like almost 7 months. And Xbox fans' first reaction is that a big exclusive on the platform has been taken away for Q1 and most of Q2 when you're looking at the bigger titles. I want to talk to you guys about this, and hopefully you kind of have your feelers out what's going on in the early or into winter and early spring for Xbox, because it's a lot of games, not all of them super big. So Gaz, tell me what how your reaction was to Stalker being pushed out till the end of the year.
Well, you see, everyone likes to wrote out that line by Shigeru Miyamoto. A bad game is bad forever. A delayed game is good eventually. But apparently that doesn't apply when you talk about Halo, right? Because you were against delaying that, right? Yeah, because it got... Well, anyway, sorry. That was just old skeletons in the closet. Oh, man. I'm two-minded about this. One, on the good side, and we've had like developers on our show say that they don't like contending with delays that are piecemeal ones. You know, like you saw with Cyberpunk, 2 months here, 2 months here, 2 months here, because ultimately the devs don't have a fixed or appreciable timeline to actually get things done. Because like, all right, 2 months, we could have, if we had a longer period of time, we could have done a lot more, because instead of like doing some patchwork fixes. So hopefully, even though 7 months seems like a long time or whatever it is, but hopefully it's enough for Stalker's devs to address whatever the lingering issues are. Everyone has delayed everything from now. Doesn't
almost
surprise
everyone,
me. Yeah. So, and Stalker looks amazing. So I want it to be really good. So delay it, just like you should have delayed Halo again. But the negative. I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill.
Hey, I will too. I will too. I mean, Halo Infinite was amazing, but waiting to play co-op with everybody at the same time when everyone's like all talking about it. But
well, what's that though? If you delayed Stalker, you were saying there was some other games. I don't know.
There's a bunch of other ones, and Asa plays a lot of different games, and I'm hoping Asa might have an idea, because I know the chat's kind of lighting up. I want you to help us out on this one, because things will be missed, but I want to take it to Asa to kind of explain what he thinks is, if he remembers what's coming in February, like the month right before Stalker was supposed to come out. That was an April release. February is absolutely packed. Asa, give us the rundown of what you think is coming in the early spring or late winter, if you can remember.
I'm gonna let Chad pick up the slack on that one and pop some games in there while I talk about something else that you said, because you mentioned there that Stalker was delayed and it's kind of out of Xbox's hands. It's not really though. Like Stalker being delayed is out of Xbox's hands. But Xbox not having any other games lined up for the first half of 2022. I mean, I think we can all agree that it's time for Phil Spencer to go, right?
Oh my God!
not really, right?
He does not represent me. He does not represent.
Oh my gosh, Ace is like
in
total
fairness,
left field,
though, right? Xbox have done a lot right, but they have had time to get this problem in order through COVID and through all the rest of it. Like, they've had this structure, they've had Phil in place, they've had the people underneath him in place for a long time. They've acquired studios quite a lot of years ago now. So I think Xbox fans... I think it's fair for Xbox fans to hold Xbox to the flame on that one and say, why haven't we got any games for the first half of the year?
So, Asa,
and I don't think it will ever be a problem again. I'll say that. I think 2022 will be the last year that Xbox don't have any games for the first half. But it is fair to be disappointed.
How much... I mean, Xbox knows that Stalker is being worked on by this company, that the studio out of Russia, right? Pretty sure they're out of Russia. How much pull does Matt Booty and the first party team and global publishing have to make sure that Stalker sticks to their deadline? Because one of the things, Asa, that I don't want Xbox to do is what the Matrix era did in the first half of the Xbox One era, where they said, well, actually, most of the Xbox One era, where they said, we don't care. Quarter 2, we want a game. Oh, it's not done. It's good enough. Get it out. And I feel like Xbox did a lot of it's good enough with their third-party publishers. Their in-house stuff, their first-party stuff was amazing. But I always felt like their third-party stuff, and AC, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because this is me just using my like best industry knowledge of just being old, right? That I feel like a third-party studio, they're like, well, you know, they come back and say, Phil, they don't think they're gonna make April, and then they're like, well, I mean, we can't make them release it broken, so them's where the cards lie, or something like that.
Those are difficult contracts, right? Because when you have a relationship with a third party and they're making a game for you, and the game is not up to the standard that you want to publish it, if you're asking for more time, that's a lot of money from that studio, and someone's got to cover that. So it depends on the contracts that they've got in place, but they butt heads there. So Microsoft may say, like, I want you to bring Stalker out now. And this studio says, well, I know we've got a marketing deal and you pay for all this development, but it's not ready. What is the correct answer? Do they develop it more for another 6 months? Do Microsoft then pay for some of that development time? Probably not. Do the Stalker development team want to push it out? And it's a complicated, the relationship between publisher and developer is complicated in the first place, between platform holder / publisher / developer, even more complicated. So right and wrong answer is not so simple. None of us want to see it go the way of Scalebound. And Stalker 2 looks phenomenal. A game needs a delay, it needs a delay. So
Sure, yeah. It's just one of those things where they struck this deal probably 3 years ago. I would just guess maybe 3 years ago they struck this deal and said, hey, this is going to release, we want this released on Xbox first. And then they project it out and they have like the whiteboard with all the squares where they fill in the little checkerboards of where games will land. And then Xbox sits back and smokes a stogie and says, okay, well, we got a game in the first part of the year. We got one in the summer. We got one in the fall and one in the winter. We're good. Like, Xbox knows they've got a big AAA release that's exclusive to the Xbox platform once every season, and they're like, we're good. And then they get the email, Matt Booty, we need more time for Stalker. And they're like, dang it, now we have a hole in the chart. And then the Xbox fans go, what are we going to do? PlayStation has their banger coming out in the spring. We have nothing to counter it. And I think Shinobi or maybe our good friend Paris Lilly, one of them said that you only want Stalker to keep its date for your list wars. Gaz,
yes,
this seems like a question tailor-made for you.
So Paris Lily always trying to be nice. Oh, don't do console wars. No, we don't want to be boring, Paris. Yeah. So what? I want my list wars. Ultimately, it's competition, though. It really is competition.
Yeah.
Acer's made a good, interesting point about this is going to be the last year we see that, and Xbox have made the statement that they want like a big first-party game every quarter or something. I don't know, whatever it was. Whatever it is, it sounds really ambitious. I ultimately will side with the devs. If they want more time, they want more time. And Stalker is a game that looks really, really good. And I think it's a really good get. It was really smart of Microsoft, because if you, like an old person like me, I was following Stalker on the PC years ago, and it got delayed. I don't want that, like almost Duke Nukem Forever-esque.
Oh, the first one was delayed quite a bit?
Oh, so much. Really? To the point where I never ended up playing it because it got delayed so much, and it kind of lost
your computer went outdated by then?
What was that?
Your computer was outdated by the time it came out?
My computer was really outdated. We were pretty poor, so I had like a Pentium 1 for a long time. So it's like, I get it. But ultimately, just I want the game to be good. So take your time, and there are some, like Rand. Shout out to Rand. He made a good point on our show. He's like, why is it always that the Xbox has a busy, packed holiday and nothing in the start? And there's a valid question there. So maybe next year.
That has happened for many, many years, and PlayStation has had a really great spring, many, many years. So it's the push and pull. Maybe PlayStation and Xbox work together so they can keep the fire and the fights going. But I want to give a shout out to over 700 people, almost 750 people watching the show. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming by to check out XNC Podcast. I'm here if you're looking at the handsome men from GameOn Daily. This is Gaz and Asa. They're best friends of mine. I am very happy to be on their shows whenever they ask, and luckily they reciprocated that. So thank you for checking out the show. If you're having a good time, hit the like button and show your support, and stay excited in the chat. We got a lot to talk about. I got a couple I got to read here. Lord Starkiller, who just messaged me, said he got an XNC sweatshirt. I put together like a retro, an 80s like retro tech design of the XNC thing. I was trying to put a couple of designs together. I just tried to make something cool, and I let him pick one for a monthly giveaway. I've got one coming up I need to do now, so I'll do that as soon as I can. But Lord Starkiller also sends a $5 super chat and says, welcome back to the previous gen with PS4, the Series S killer at $300. Seriously, Sony? Yeah, that's another thing we didn't really mention. Right now, the base PS4, or they call it the PS4 Slim, is set at $299. I would fully expect them to get that ready to sell at $199. And if the Series S gets any type of price cut or price deal, it's going to be crazy. It's the total next generation versus the one of the slower last generation consoles. So I think they're still selling the PS4 Pro, aren't they, Asa?
I imagine so, yeah. But you have to also remember, though, when you talk about the PlayStation 4 being the same price as the Series S, there's a lot of people that don't understand that difference between them, that don't understand that the Series S is fundamentally better. Yeah. So Sony, just if they're marketing it head to head with the Series S because they don't have a proper alternative, that might work for them if they push the messaging right.
Yeah, and it's the stuff that matters. And you don't have to be a big tech head to realize a Series S is going to run almost every game at 60, and a PS4 Pro will run the occasional game with a performance mode.
I'd say you do need to be a tech head to understand that. You get your hands on those consoles, and you'll feel the difference immediately. Like there's a night and day difference to anyone that plays. Yeah, the games.
I mean, I come at that with my teenage kid who has an Xbox One X, and I'm trying to get a Series S. For the games we're playing, because they're held back behind loading times on a last generation console. And my kid knows, why does yours look so smooth? My kid knows that you're looking at 60 and in the other room they're looking at 30. So yeah, that's why I say you don't have to be a tech head to notice the big differences in frame rate. But thank you so much, Lord Starkiller, for that. And Risk It for the Biscuit with a £5 super. Thank you. Says Phyllis Maximus Aurelius Spencerus is the actual king of PR. This kind of sounds like Casey Kasem.
King David for coming up with that genius.
Right. I mean, he said that. He was like a few seats away from me at E3 2019 when it was in person. We're in there in front of the whole stage. And when Phil came out, he goes, Phil Maximus Aurelius Spencer.
I love so King awesome. David, man. I want to hug him so bad.
Guys got to meet him in real life. He's like, I'm 5'9", for in the UK. I don't know.
Yeah,
wait, you guys use inches? I always have to ask guys. He's when I'm talking to him, it's like this, and he's larger than life.
Quite big. Oh, geez.
He's so tall, and he's got the best smile. He's so amazing. He's so awesome. But Risk It for the Biscuit says Phyllis Maximus Aurelius Spencerus is the actual king of PR, but he was challenged recently by the New York Post some difficult questions, and he handled it. We talked about this last week, I think, about the platform ban. Let me see something that is in a topic. Let's jump to that really quick. I did Gaz's show, and then I did RDX last week, so forgive me if I think I just said something. Plus, I'm old. So Phil was asked about chronic harassers and people who ruin the platform of gaming, and he said that it would be really great if he could block somebody on Xbox Live, and then if he goes to another platform, that person would also be blocked. And then he goes on to say that it would be great if there was a universal database or something that could ban that person on all platforms. And he kind of says it's a pipe dream. Ace, I got to start with you because we talked about this on your show, because that put up a bunch of red flags, because someone's like, you could ruin people's gaming sphere if you do this. What did you translate from this discussion?
So I think the context is important. The fact that you said that it's a pipe dream is important. If this was something that Phil Spencer was actually aspiring to and trying to make happen, then there'd be massive red flags. Anybody that supports that, and I've heard people say, like, oh, if you're not doing anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about, and things like that, which is an awful take. The very idea of giving Microsoft or Sony or any other corporation the power to ban you across all of these other platforms is wild. Yeah. The concept that Phil was actually getting at more so, that I think he did. It's very rare for Phil to get his words a little bit muddled, but he also mentioned that it would be great if someone who was being harassed could block someone and that person would be blocked elsewhere. And he acknowledges that that's practically not going to happen because we don't have a database. You don't know that person's real name and address and all the rest of it. That database should never exist. You could argue Depending on your political views, you could say maybe the government should take care of something like that, and you might be completely against that in just the same sense. But I think everybody should agree, corporations, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Supporting that is wild.
And it is kind of
100%.
It is kind of wild, right, Gaz, to think there's two scenarios. There's one scenario, let's say that Gaz is playing Apex Legends on his PC, and he runs into some guy named WaterEgg32 who just keeps, team killing. You can't do that. And let's say he's playing Rainbow Six. You can't do that in Apex. I'm just trying to give there's something that's not as horrible, right? Somebody's just being a real pain in the butt and ruining your game experience. And then Gaz goes over to another game. What's the chances he's going to go onto PlayStation and run into WaterEgg32? I think Phil's talking about somebody who's chronically harassing or stalking you, which is something that probably happens to Phil quite a bit. He shows up online. When he's online playing, he stays shown online. Everyone knows what he's playing. And I would not be surprised, Gaz, if when Phil logs on, in a few minutes, he gets a message, an Xbox Live message from some guy saying, Xbox sucks, go eat your toenails, right?
Well, then it's just go eat your toenail. That's just it's a famous person problem, isn't it? Well, it doesn't mean anything to us filthy casuals.
Like you.
Just because you have an army of haters, Colt, I probably will have a lot more considering I'm such a piece of... I'm with Asa. I really am against it. I saw some people, I won't mention names if it sound like I have vendetta against them, but they were being proponents of this, and I don't like it. And Phil also said we're not a free speech platform. And someone in chat says, look, without getting political, I am very anti this cancel culture. And I just think then the lines get blurred, because I get it. Homophobia, racism, sexism, and we've seen, especially the gaming platform, you'd have to be complete denial that there is a problem with all these things in the platform. Some of the stuff you see against women even vexes me.
Oh yeah.
But I see this and I'm like, well, because there's this, let's be honest, in the West especially, there's a big struggle on this cancel culture and woke movement and the society's reconciling what is acceptable, what isn't, and there's a deeper conversation there. But when Phil says that statement about, we're not a free speech platform, and then he's also in the same kind of breath talking about this kind of system, I'm like, corporations, like Asa says, should not be in the driving seat behind determining how this pans out. And a wholesale kind of ban on things like this, I don't like that at all, man. I know it sounds very Joe Rogan, but ultimately, talking about corporation and corporate heads here policing this stuff, I just don't like it.
I will just say, slightly on that though, when Phil Spencer says that they're not running a free speech platform, that's fair enough. Microsoft's reach is their own platform, and I'm comfortable with that. If they want to ban people for whatever, fine. But their reach cannot extend beyond their own platform. That's where the problem comes in.
Exactly.
And they shouldn't.
Smart, but exactly.
And they shouldn't. I mean, it would have been nice if Phil said, it would be like if his words were like, it'd be great if you could just block those people everywhere and they never show up. But the other part of this is, I think Phil being in a place where he is, not just being famous, like Gaz joked, of course, if you're famous, you're going to get chronically harassed by, like I saw in the chat, and I totally agree. Let me find it. Jason Spear says, end user has the power, block, mute, leave. Absolutely. But the more notoriety you get, the more eyes that you have on you, it multiplies exponentially how many people are going to grief you. But he could have said, he should have said, This would be nice, but it's not really something that should be happening. It's just be nice because I think Phil sees, as the head of the Xbox platform, he has people that report to him that tell him all about the difficulties they have. And I'll recycle something I said on your show, that it is akin to owning a restaurant. If Gaz owned a restaurant and a guy comes in. The restaurant's called The Sauce. I can see the sign. That'd be amazing. Gaz owns this restaurant, and he's cooking up the best kebapi than anyone in the whole street, right? Shout out to Key and Peele. But Gaz has a restaurant, and a guy comes in on purpose with no shirt. It's like, what's going on? What you guys eating over here? This place sucks. No one likes your food. And he's scratching his hairy belly. And he does it on purpose because he hates Gaz, or he's got like, he was told to leave one time, right? So he comes back in and customers are like, I'm out of here. So what the point I'm getting at with the funny story is that the platforms have every right to kick you off if you're shooing away their customers and their games. And so maybe the people that report to Phil are like, it has become worse. You know, every year it gets worse. There's more people trolling and knocking people off the platform, scaring them away from game lobbies, costing game companies money that they could be making. And Phil's thinking, gosh, we all lose when someone comes in and ruins our experience. Yeah. Asa, what do you have to say about that? Do you think that kind of helps alleviate some of the 1984 discussion that comes from Phil's pipe dream?
That's why I say at the start that the context is important, because I really like when we talk about red flags, this isn't something that Phil Spencer is aspiring to build, right? Yeah, it's a conversation that he had off the cuff. It would be nice to not be harassed. Yeah, it would be nice to not be harassed. Absolutely right. It's when you start digging into like the practicalities of it and getting a bit deeper, then you suddenly go like, whoa, this is a terrible idea. But it's not an idea that they're progressing with. It's just something that he said in response to a question as like, it would be nice not to be harassed. It doesn't go any further than that.
Ultimately, this problem will be solved if anonymity is removed on the internet, and there's an argument there about that.
That is a huge one.
Yeah.
That's another big problem. And crud, I already lost my train of thought, but like you're saying it perfectly.
Yeah.
I remember I was going to say platforms and certain games online, like if you've got a Ubisoft online game, they have a tiered system of you get a warning, you get banned for 24 hours, you get banned for a week, and then you're gone. I did a video like that like 3 years ago that said that more accurately, but sometimes stuff is so bad that when PlayStation or Xbox or Steam look into the reports they get about Water Egg 32, that they just say, you know what, he's gone, and you don't get to appeal it because they already did their work. They already checked up on you. They saw the messages you wrote to the other person, and I don't want to talk about this anymore. We're moving on.
That though, like tiny little thing on that though, like even in that circumstance though, if you're gonna harass someone on Steam or Xbox or PlayStation and they're going to block you from that platform, and you bought games digitally on that platform, there's a case there where that's kind of iffy anyway.
Because you lose access to your purchases.
You've paid for it. Okay, you've been whatever you've been, and you probably deserve your ban. But do those corporations, like, is it fair that they can cut off your access to the games that you bought? Is that something that we should be cheering for?
Yeah, legally, it would never work. It just doesn't work.
I mean, they do cut you off from your games if they cut you.
Cross-platform, like
cross-platform. But even in that sense, if you're just talking about Xbox because we're on an Xbox thing.
Oh yeah.
If you've been naughty on Xbox Live and they say, right, you're not allowed on Xbox Live anymore, and you lose the Halo campaign that you paid for, that's a strange situation to cheer for as well.
Well, and then again, when you buy a game, you are buying it. You're buying the license to play it until they say you're done playing it, and the terms of service are locked in there. So maybe it all holds up legally.
And obviously my concerns here are for Gaz because he's probably going to get banned at some point.
You're watching out
for me too. It's like...
And it'll be your account that goes, Colt. So my concern is for both of you.
Yeah, we game share, so you're in trouble.
One day I'm going to log in and I'm like, what'd you do? But
someone said, "Don't be an asshole, no problem."
Yes,
and that's not you say that, and then you got the social credit system. Have you seen Black Mirror? Like, oh yes,
well,
everyone's ended up voting.
Come on, take it at face value. It's actually a really good statement to make because it kind of covers it. Remember in Liar Liar when he says you have a client that knocked over an ATM and he goes, "Quit breaking the law, a-hole," and he hangs up the phone because he can't tell. He can only tell the truth. So it's kind of like that. But
it's supporting taking away your own rights.
I
am the law. Let's see. We got Kabini Gaming corrected the super chat. Says I meant 4K 30 HDR on my 120 hertz TV with my PC. My bad. So that's still a killer PC, but still enjoying it. Thank you so much. For Havoc with the $5. Thank you, says Gaz, Asa, and Colt. What are your thoughts on a new Conker's New Fur Day.
Ooh.
Now,
It's
I don't
gas,
know.
by the way.
I don't have experience with the series, and I don't have real experience other than playing one of the back and pat things for a minute and going, yeah, I didn't play this back in the day. But Asa, are you well versed in your squirrel games?
No, I don't think it would thrive in today's market. I can't see that one happening because the whole point of the game was the crude humor, right? Which is, there's a place for it, people enjoy it, but is it something that Microsoft are going to get behind at the moment?
Yeah.
I just wonder how funny that stuff is these days.
You won't get it. Half the humor will be cut because in this day and age you can't have that kind of stuff, and Microsoft very aware of those. I feel, as always. And you know what my stance on this is. It's not like I'm a hateful piece of whatever. It's just that I think it really does compromise the integrity of comedy when you're half the time. I'm not talking as a comedian. I'm not a comedian, or try to be, I guess. But you're as a comedian, you're half the struggle is trying to reconcile with cancel culture, right? So Conquer Bad Fur Day. Conquer back then was pushing it. It was like, wow, that's crazy.
In the early 2000s.
Yeah, and for it to be a good Conquer game, it needs to push boundaries in terms of dark humor. And whether or not Microsoft, like Asa said, will side with that, I doubt it. Not even a Microsoft problem. It's most Western devs. I think they'll be very averse to pushing those kind of limits, which is sad.
Yeah, you're probably right. That market probably has kind of been pushed aside. If you go watch an old 2000s comedy, you might see some stuff that you're like, I don't know if they really do that stuff anymore, or late 90s. Yeah. But Knight Peter with Australian $10 says, best way to fix a lack of games for Xbox in the first half of 2022 is to bring... We didn't even get into this, but he says, bring Elden Ring to Game Pass. This is perfectly timed because this goes into our next discussion. He says, do you think this is possible? The Australian support on this show is absolutely phenomenal. I love that. Australia. It is about noon in Sydney right now, or a little after noon, I think. So on the next day in the future. So you guys are amazing to check out the show. I want to talk about this because I don't think Elden Ring is coming to Game Pass, but people have been starting to talk about why not Dying Light 2. And before we jump into this, we were trying to talk about, Asa got us on a side tangent. I love it, but there are big games that are coming out in February. Elden Ring. Somebody in the chat said my time is going to be spent playing Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I'm with you, buddy. We should probably co-op that. What else is coming? Think about those big games that were announced to come out. We might not have our finger on the pulse. That's why I asked the chat to help, and I kind of missed it if you're writing it. Asa, do you remember any big games? Elden Ring. There's some really big ones.
Dying Light 2 is the one that people are like, maybe, it feels like a good fit for Game Pass. Elden Ring, it's not outside the realms of possibility. I don't think it's an absolute no. Obviously, it's Japanese and has this PlayStation lead, but it's Bandai, right? Bandai Namco publishing that, or am I wrong there?
I think so. Let me check.
I think you're right. And Xbox had marketing with it for a little bit. I don't know if that PlayStation showed the first gameplay at Jeff Keighley's show, but Xbox has had the marketing for it. So, yeah, thank you guys. So, Asa, why would
Nexus and things, right? So there's potential there. They are open to talking about Game Pass.
Scarlett Nexus didn't come to Game Pass though.
It did, not day one, but it's on it at the moment. Yeah. So yeah. I would say, Elden Ring, I can't see it happening in February, but I can see it on there at some point this year.
I'm watching the chat. Yes, don't be making faces when I'm trying to concentrate.
I've been doing it all show. I
know. I didn't want to interrupt Asa to tell you to quit being a goofball, but I love you the best.
I'm sorry.
Hey. It's something we deal with every day. Let's talk about Dying Light 2, 500 hours, the biggest game ever made. Asa, why would Dying Light 2 make a good... what's the word? I don't know what the word is. Why would it make a good Game Pass companion?
A couple of reasons. One of them is that the whole thing can be played co-op. Right, and Game Pass lends itself fantastically well to co-op games altogether. The other is that Dying Light, for all its success, went relatively under the radar for how good it was.
I know. It did.
That's it. That's my two reasons that
is pretty good.
It would fit.
Those are the main reasons.
And Xbox has been doing the marketing with Dying Light 2 for at least 2017, I think. So I think that's when the first trailer came out. So, Gaz, would this alleviate some of the blistering, burning pain of not having a big
void and vacuum left in 2022, early 2022
from Stalker
absolutely.
2?
Absolutely. Really, the Acer nailed those 2 points. Co-op games, perfect fit for Game Pass. And also, it's the devs are really talented. Dying Light 1 was an incredible game. It's got masses of support post-launch, by the way. So there's also avenues there for the devs to monetize further if they want with DLC and stuff, because they'll get remunerated handsomely anyway, because Game Pass is a win-win now, because Microsoft are very generous with what they offer developers. Not that we have any hard numbers, but almost all devs whose games have been on Game Pass have said that they're not complaining about how much they're getting paid. They've been rewarded handsomely. But in terms of it's the other point, it's not the co-op point, but it's the point that if you're that dev, you don't want to repeat. I doubt they'll have a repeat of this anyway, but you don't want to repeat. You want high numbers. You want high player numbers. And Game Pass is an almost surefire guarantee. Boom. It's going to be big. I think February 4th is the release date. But if that's on Game Pass and everyone knows it, then that changes even for me, even though I'd buy it day one or get press copy. But if it's on Game Pass, that kind of mentally is like, everyone, let's just get on that. Because then it's going to be a huge boon for the game's numbers and Game Pass. If Microsoft, if you're look, you want to plug the gap, Dying Light 2 over Elder Scrolls. Not Elder Scrolls, sorry, Elden Ring.
I know, I see the same thing.
Dying Light 2 is a no-brainer over Elden Ring. The market for Elden Ring is more, like Asa said, Japanese-centric, more that kind of stuff. Yeah, Miles Dompier, don't be mad at me, but Dying Light 2 over Elden Ring for Game Pass.
I'm the same. I am the same. I know there's like massive hype for Elden Ring. I feel like you don't need to push your game with Game Pass, but I feel like something like Elden Ring is fine just being left alone. It would be such a good get for Xbox, but I just feel like if you made Elden Ring, you're like, no, I'm good. We don't need to do anything. Let's just see how it pans out.
Yeah, it's got such a hardcore following. It's going to sell to already, hasn't it? So
yeah, and maybe there's so many pre-orders. Maybe their pre-orders are so much further than something like Dying Light 2 that they would never even consider having people cancel to play it on a service, even though they would get maybe it doesn't outweigh the amount that Xbox would give them up front. But there are two reasons why Dying Light 2 could be possible. One is that Xbox doesn't announce a big release to Game Pass until some 3 weeks before the release of the game sometimes. So this is something we might not hear about. If it was true, we wouldn't hear about this for a couple of weeks. The other part is I got so much flack for this, Kaz. But about a year ago, I did a video about a rumor that Dying Light 2 was having some development problems. Xbox stepped in to help. Xbox was either going to buy Techland, this is a year ago, or they were just going to pay to finish it, and it would be a timed or full exclusive on Xbox. And I got this from a really good source, and boy, after about 2 days, that source fizzled out really bad, and I took a lot of flack for it, and hey, that just happens. But
you might get some redemption there, because ultimately, these deals, even though the whispers are correct, they don't always. That's what I'm
wondering. That's what I'm wondering if the whispers I heard a year ago. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if the things that we heard a year ago that I heard with my source, where stuff gets lost in translation, they're helping with, they're going to either buy Techland or they're going to make a timed exclusive, was really because where there's smoke there's fire, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes about another game where there's smoke there's fire. So maybe I'll get some sort of redemption that was mistranslated to Xbox has been talking with them for over a year, trying to get that game into Game Pass day and date, trying to get what kind of money is it going to take to get you over there.
Colt has some interesting and good sources, so I don't blame you for running with that.
Yeah, that source has been 99%. Yeah.
So,
but
there might be. I
get so much flack, but Anybody
think
can go back and watch that video. It's all like, this is possible. This is what we're hearing. This could happen. This couldn't happen in the video. But people take that thumbnail, guys. That thumbnail's so important. They're just like, they just chew on it, right?
Man. Thumbnails have to be clickbait. So we have to little limited finite thing. We have to go for the punch. Otherwise YouTube will bury it. But
you have like 3 words to you have 3 words to catch people. So
people are people. What can you expect?
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, Jedi Knight Peter, for the Australian 10. That puts us in that topic. And for Havoc with the $2 says, sorry, Gaz. What? And happy birthday.
Oh, you got my name wrong. You called me Gas. And then the whole chat just went down.
I totally
Gas thing.
I totally missed it. If I'm on a different device and I try to talk to you, I'll call you all kinds of names. Yodani Quizada with a $5 thank you. He says, question for Asa. Ooh, Asa, get ready. He says, since anything VR related that comes to PS5 is exclusive, can they release a big enough title to end droughts with gaming media buzz? Does he mean, Donnie, do you mean a PS5 exclusive? You want me to read it one more time, Asa?
Right. No, I think I'm not entirely sure how to take that, Yodani, but I think that if they've got Insomniac's VR studio and they've got Firesprite pumping up games and hopefully some of their other studios, my hope for it is that it kickstarts VR both for the PlayStation and for the PC. But
yes,
we'll see.
One more
I
question.
Pray for success for PlayStation VR 2. I think Sony deserves it for sticking to their guns. 2, I really want VR to be successful, so I really want Firesprite and everyone. VR needs a resurgence. PlayStation, respect to you. Please smash out the park. Feel like it's almost like the last chance in the mainstream.
It'll be interesting if a PS5 or PSVR 2 game goes to PC. It'll really kind of direct where PlayStation's looking to go. That's the
even
really
outside of
interesting.
Sony, though. Even outside of Sony, the fact that this device is a viable platform should kickstart development elsewhere. Hopefully,
sure.
That's my hope.
Meaning, PSVR 2 could be connected to a PC someday.
Not necessarily, but just the fact that you've got high-end headsets, means that devs will be interested in VR again. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yep. Hargi Chani with the $2. Thank you, Hargi. Says Gazastani, a member of the Gaz fan club. And another one, Hargi's got another one for $5. Thank you, Hargi. He powers the show. When we get on Xbox, he's got such a great laugh. Have you got his laugh in your memory? Yeah. It's so great. Yeah. It just lights up the day. It's so fun. He says, I guess more of an interesting question, Hargi says, would a ban on Xbox also block you on other Microsoft services? That could be a big issue. I don't think so. They block you on Xbox Live. You can still use Windows 365 and Print Shop. Microsoft Print Shop. I'm just going back to the old 90s. Darnell Hill with a $5 thank you. He says, do you think we could get an E3 like Xbox event since the online event is allegedly canceled? I didn't have this on my topic list, but this kind of came up later today. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's little buzzes about E3, the ESA not even hosting an online
This
E3.
Is fun, all right? Because this came out today as like a rumor. It's not that fun. Like, it's not, I mean, it's negative because we all want E3 to go ahead. It came out today as a rumor, which is strange because IGN ran that story on the day of the announcement. I'm sure it was IGN that ran it, that it is in fact completely cancelled. There was no mention. And they pointed out, like, this announcement doesn't mention anything about an online digital event. It just says it's cancelled. And it's just cancelled. So it's come out today as if it's a fresh rumor, but it was confirmed like at the time. So, and not confirmed, but
I mean,
highly
is the
likely
ESA,
to be true that there's no E3.
Is the ESA really, hosting the major E3 events online all year, or the major platforms doing it themselves just fine? Gaz?
I think we'll go back to Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest to rely on. I don't know if they're going to do another show. I'm just so salty. There's no physical event. Guys, I wanted to meet up with everyone. Like, I've seen you and King David and all those people, like, from the community together. I've been planning this holiday or whatever, June, E3. So no physical event is pretty much like I don't care if it's a digital one. Well, I do care, but I don't know. I'm just all guesstimates right now, but I'm just trying to get over the fact that I want to be able to see you, man.
I know I want to meet up with everybody when the timing is right, but I do know that Xbox very much wants to have an E3 event. They would be there in person if they could, and I assume that means we will definitely see an early June or second week of June Sunday broadcast online from Xbox, as we've been seeing for years. So there's a lot with the E3 thing, but I feel like the platforms are doing their own thing. I wonder what Bethesda and Xbox will do. Last year they combined. Asa, do you think they'll just do one event, just call it the Xbox briefing?
I think they will, yes. And I think if you remember last year's E3, the only good parts were the Xbox show and Devolver Digital. So actually the fact that the ESA are going like hands off, as long as Microsoft do still go ahead and do their own event, they were already hosting it in their own convention center and doing it themselves anyway. So as long as if they've got the appetite for it, and it's always a big event for Microsoft, so they probably have. Yeah, I think Bethesda and Xbox will be on stage together and we'll get a ton of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I would really, if you're not really in tune to the in-person E3 event, I've learned quite a bit about it, but being there, the ESA charges an arm and a leg for someone like Xbox to set up in their gigantic convention center. Xbox has Microsoft Theater a block and a half away or a block away. I'm pointing in the direction from when you walk out the door, but they can set up their stuff. They can take their time, set up their whole event there. They can do the briefing there. They can have the gaming set up. It's absolutely amazing. I hope someday everything gets better so we can get back to it. It's just weird, Gaz, that Sony's just been for like 3 or 4 years. Sony's like, no, we don't care about E3. Maybe we'll do a PSX. Maybe we won't.
I think there's a lot. I know there's a lot that goes into planning this. Phil Spencer and they have talked about it. They start planning, I think, something like early, like January or something. So it's a lot of pressure for a third-party show, whereas Sony maybe perhaps are in combination with where they are with their games and stuff and releases, they've thought, well, let's do this at our own pace. Let's cut some costs and control the messaging more. So for them, yeah, it sucks though, because E3 it used to be the big spectacle, the biggest show of the year to really show off your wares. At one point, you couldn't miss E3. It was unconscionable. Like you can't.
But it still is unmissable. Like everyone is tuned in that week in the second week of June to all of their outlets online.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Sony has been in the driving seat. Like last gen, it was controlling the narrative. It was the market leader. Well, I don't know how you see.
But they didn't. They were out of the news cycle for like an entire month. Yeah, I mean, I was there trying to cover the news, and we've watched it. I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But and if you remember way back when Sony and Microsoft used to go to E3, Sony was on Sunday or Xbox was on Sunday, and PlayStation was always like after them. So they always got the last word, and they could pivot and move things in reactivity to Xbox. And now they just don't do anything, and they wait for PSX.
But on their own show and a few weeks later, because you have to understand, irrespective of the fact that PlayStation have been market leaders or whatever, they are very reactionary and to the messaging. They really take that on board. They always want to kind of counterpunch. So that's perhaps one of the reasons why they are absent. I always gave Microsoft props for being bold enough to go first, even though they...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a question of how much can a PlayStation actually change in the space of 24 hours, but maybe they have set.
But if they wait a month, they can change everything they need to change. That's a really good point.
Talk about exactly. So maybe that was it. That was a combination of things, I'm sure. But ultimately, screw you, Sony, man. You killed E3. What the hell?
My excitement has never faded for the time for E3. And and it's good that Xbox has done a couple. They do one at E3, and then they'll do something at the Game Awards. So the Game Awards have turned out to be not
really
bad.
Good.
Yeah.
I guess
I
as
actually
much
really
as-
liked this past year's, just a couple months ago. I really liked that show. But all right, let's. I hope E3 keep the E3 dream alive, and if not, maybe Gaz and I'll have something we can kind of stir up in the future. We have been talking, we have been thinking. It's super important. So let's see, where am I? Purple Haze 4564. Thank you for the $5 super chat, for supporting the show, for being here. And if you're here and enjoying the show, please hit the like button. This is the XNC Podcast. We are live on the Colteastwood channel, here with the guys from GameOn Daily and the Go Live Podcast. This is Asa and Gaz. They're doing a phenomenal job. These guys are on point. It's very late in the evening for them, so give them a shout, give them a thumbs up for being here and being troopers here on the show. Purple Haze says, hey, chat, I just bought he's flexing. I bought a brand new LG OLED C1. Do you have any recommendations on TV settings for gaming and also watching and streaming shows? Now, that's as a dealer would tell me to tell you, that is a 20-minute conversation with both of our remotes in hand, walking over it. I can't help you on that, but Vincent from our teens, I think is where he's from, has a really good setup. You want to make sure that your TV and movie stuff is set with game mode off, and then you're directly on the game mode and VRR and all that stuff, or automatic response, whatever it's called. So there's some stuff you're going to need to dive into, but I think an 8-minute YouTube video will walk you through it while you're using your remote. Definitely do it. Get those settings, and you'll be smoking with your new LG. Jason Spears with the $5 super says, love Xbox. Have recently enjoyed PS trophies. They're not all that exciting when they pop up, are they? Those PS trophies. It's just more satisfying. I think Xbox underestimates the engagement of a revamped achievement system. So Jason
100%.
Spears says the PS trophies are more satisfying.
Yep.
Interesting. I have never felt that way.
Agree.
Do you agree?
100%. The trophy system, even though they copied the achievements, is way better than because achievements is a massive number now. I mean, Blade Rands go over 1.3 million. I mean, the number means no sense to me, but the trophy system with the rarity and the platinum trophy.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, I love that. And Xbox, I think they were talking about this like even last gen about trying to maybe perhaps rejig it, but I think it definitely needs a change. Trophies over achievements in terms of that, and particularly the platinum. That needs to happen.
I love that pop-up. I love the pop-up on the Xbox 360 and now the current Xbox pop-up. The sound, the animation as a motion graphics guy. I love the way that animation comes up and just the little ding with the little box of PlayStation.
The rare ones, like with the diamond, it's really nice.
It's absolutely satisfying.
The visual experience is better, but the concept is better. They need to do a platinum trophy or 100% trophy.
Yes.
There are ways around it. Allow you to display your top 3 100% medals or whatever, something like that. But it needs to be done. But it's a very good point. Whoever did that super chat.
Yeah, Jason Spears, thank you so much. There are things there that I don't care about, but he's right on with the platinum. If Xbox had
Dealer helped us sort my LG OLED settings out. By the way, I love you, Dealer.
Yeah, I mean, Dealer is nice enough to sit there with me. He's like, "No, Colt, left. Your other left. No, up. See it right there." He's very patient. He's very patient. And then when you get everything set up, when I set up my LG, he's like, all right, we're going to go on Sea of Thieves and we're going to go look at the sunset. And I'm like, this sounds amazing. Let's go off in the sunset. And it looks so amazing with these new TVs. But yeah, shout out to Dealer for hooking that up. And he gets DMs all the time. He makes a joke and just defers them to someone else so they get their DMs get slammed. Purple Haze 4564 again with the $2 says, when is Gotham Knights coming or Suicide Squad? That's a bunch of games we missed we talk about, but I think those are both coming at the end of the year. Asa, do you remember your
I'm finding now. I think just
say the games again. Sorry.
Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad.
So funny you should mention, because PlayStation just put out a 22 games for 2022, and both of those games are included on the list for this year.
I know they're this
came out
year. I just
today
have
or
no
yesterday.
idea.
I don't know exactly when, but this year's a good enough answer.
This year is good enough, yeah. people are posting memes about hopefully things don't get delayed. But real quick, Ace and Gaz, which team are you on? Suicide Squad is the one you're looking forward to, or Gotham Knights?
Suicide Squad all day. All day.
Based on the developer, yeah. Not the characters, don't care for them, but based on the developer.
Yeah, I like the Shark Man and but it just looks so fun.
Yeah. I'm not a massive comic book guy like Zorka is, but Suicide. Have you seen the gameplay? It looks mad. It looks amazing.
So good. I think we do. I think we do way too much complaining. There's tons of really good games coming out in 2022, whether you know it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is pretty crazy. Benjamin Diabor with the $5 says, "Don't want this to happen, but do you guys think Redfall will be delayed?" Colt, love the show. Watch every week. All right, let's get into it. This is one of the delayed rumors. Mr. Matty Plays and Lord Cognito on their Defining Duke podcast discuss this. We've been hearing rumors, and Gaz, where there's smoke,
there is falafel.
There's falafel. Yeah. I have no idea. Gets
delayed. Oh my god, the PlayStation fanboy is going to have a field day, and rightfully so. If that gets delayed, man, that makes it very painful for Xbox's outlook as far as exclusives are concerned. And for some reason, I think there is truth to it. Don't ask me why. I don't have any particular information.
I don't either. I just feel the same.
Yeah, I feel like this might actually get delayed, which is really weird because they started advertising it immediately when they revealed it last E3 or whatever. Yeah, E3 at the end, the CGI cutscene that they showed off. Then it was on YouTube ads constantly, like it was coming out the next month. I've never seen a game advertised so heavily on CGI immediately after its reveal. And then for it to get delayed, it's a bit of a slap in the face. I also wonder how good that game will be. But yeah, if it gets delayed, I don't know.
It's one of those games that I'm super iffy on, but I'm still so excited because everything that team has made is phenomenal. Asa, I don't know if you'd heard anybody like whisper about Redfall, but what I have heard people whisper about is that this is a short delay. Like, I don't think we're looking at 2023 Redfall, but they have it set for summer on their website, summer of 2022, which according to the curvature of the earth, I just closed it, is like June 21st to September 22nd. And none of us thought that Redfall was going to come out like in the beginning of June. We haven't seen gameplay yet. So Asa, what kind of wisdom can you give us from the depths? Very little. I don't know where these rumors have come from. The thing is, the real reason that both of you have said, like, yeah, you kind of expect it to be delayed is just because that's current times. You expect everything to be delayed. Yeah, true. Redfall is a game. Of course it's going to be delayed. They all are.
Yeah,
isn't that the truth?
And we haven't seen any gameplay for it, so apart from that leaked stuff.
Keep in mind that God of War Ragnarok, which is based and built off of the 2018 build, where the bulk of the work is building amazing levels and re-beautifying the world to look different and maybe changing a couple game mechanics, right? They're not building the game from the ground up, and they're still unsure if God of War Ragnarok makes 2022. A lot of people are thinking that one also gets pushed into 2023, but it had a 2021 year stamp on it in 2020. I hate saying all these numbers: 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. Asa, you're so right. Like, this is par for the course right now. Developers are working from home.
He makes a good point. He says Redfall uses Unreal Engine 5, so it could be delayed based on the engine release. I'm hearing this about a lot of Unreal Engine games like Stalker, so there might be something.
Don't they have full access to the build, the tools in UE5, or do they need to get things certified? I don't know, like about how excuse me, about how all that works. But Hargi, like, really technically minded, so when he speaks, I do listen. Asa, what do you know about UE5? Like, what are some of the hangups this early on?
I don't. I know that it's already, I mean, we spoke on Saturday, it's already publicly available for players to play on Fortnite at the moment. So Epic have obviously managed to push the game out, but it's their own engine, so things are a little bit different there. They do have the most advanced versions of it ahead of everyone else.
Sure.
And we've seen very little third party. So it is quite possible that that's behind a delay.
Yeah. So if, when it doesn't have a date, what can you really say about a delay? So I will tell you guys that summer 2022 is what the trailer says. That means they have all the way till September 22nd of this year to delay or release it within that window. But the funny thing, guys, is if they push the game into the winter of 2022, you've got Scorn, you've got Forza Motorsport, you've got Starfield, you've got Stalker, and possibly Redfall, all punched into the already packed holiday yet again. And Xbox must be sitting back, right, Asa, and thinking, what happened to the first half of our year? We're in such a mess.
And like we said earlier in the show, that's like, they're accountable for that. But you're right, that Starfield in particular, like games releasing in the aftermath of that game, brave. Like Stalker moving to December.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at
an overlap.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted to look at the games coming out in February, because it's packed with big games, and just kind of tell yourself, and I know we're upset about delays, as understandable as we are, right? We have every right to go, dang, we're allowed to do that, but think about how much, maybe I only put 40 or 50 hours into Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Maybe I would have been done with that and another couple of games before Stalker would have released, but you never know. But I always feel like it's never enough games. But we will look more into this delay for Redfall. I don't want to say Starfield, actually. Redfall might possibly be delayed. Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. We'll find out some more. The next thing I want to talk about, I got to grab some of these super chats, but we're going to talk about Phil Spencer talking to Ryan McCaffrey. I don't know if they had a DM or if they went and had coffee, but it wasn't on a podcast. It wasn't on their site. There wasn't a YouTube video. There wasn't anything to source other than IGN's own transcription of a discussion with Ryan McCaffrey and Phil Spencer. I'd like to have Ryan McCaffrey on the show. I've been a fan of his stuff for so long. I'll reach out to him and see if he's available, but they're always super slammed over there. But I would like to do that. Let's see here. We've got Tribal says, do you think we'll be able to cook Duraflame s'mores in Dying Light 2? That is so weird. He says, love your Optimus transformation videos, Colt. Tribal is talking about my oldest videos on my channel. If you go back, I've got one of I did a stop motion animation of Optimus Prime. Okay, that's not the coolest moment of my life, but there's also a really old video of my uncle. We threw a Duraflame log. I don't know if you know what these are, but they're meant to put in a fireplace. They're basically a fire starter, glue, and wood chips, like sawdust, compacted into a log. And you're not supposed to put them in a fire pit, but we did. And there was smoke for days. And I made a video about it on YouTube and got like 40 views. It was amazing. Thank you, Trevor, for that. When he said Duraflame s'mores, like just rush back with amazing memories. I put a song on there and YouTube cut it. And I'm like, this is what YouTube does. It's like, I'm talking way back in like 06 when YouTube was brand new. Thank you for that, Tribal. That was out of left field. Lord Star Killer, thank you for the $5. This question for Colt, Gaz, and Asa. When will Microsoft support VR headsets on Xbox Series S and X?
When it's too late. That's the problem with being a follower, not leader. I understand player
in VR because they're leading everything else, guys. I will punch you in the neck.
Ultimately, if I was Xbox, would perhaps do the same thing they are. It's just wait and see. But there's a double-edged sword there because your competition will lead that. But this is an Asa question. You're the master here. Tell us, man.
Yeah, so they won't anytime soon because it runs contrary to their big push. And I'm not saying that Microsoft can't do more than one thing at once, but their big push in the gaming space is to bring games to everybody wherever they are and tear down barriers. As much as I love VR, it's very much a barrier. Very much a barrier.
So like just, price-wise, physicality, and ability.
It's price-wise, but you need to, rather than like, there's this massive push towards cloud gaming, and that's an inevitable future for gaming that most people can agree on. It's going to get bigger over time. VR takes you in the opposite direction. It's not like making things easier to get to, because you have to put a headset on your face.
Is VR more accessible for people with limited motor functions, like they've done with the adaptive controller? Like you're not giving someone with limited motor function or limited ability physically a 14 button controller. You're giving them two hand controllers with 2 or 3 buttons on them, right?
Yeah, and eye tracking and things. There is something to that, but as a global objective, I will say, so Microsoft are well prepped if they ever want to do VR. They've got all of the software and stuff in place. You can use Microsoft VR software on a PC today, so they could bring it to Xbox very easily. And if for some reason suddenly VR blows up over the next couple of years, then they could respond very quickly. But I don't see that happening. Much as I'm the biggest fan of VR. I've got a treadmill.
I know you
me,
are. And
it's not going to blow up and hit the mainstream.
When you're speaking on it, it really means a lot to hear what you have to say, because Phil said one of the barriers is getting the operating system tooled for VR to get people in and out of games, whether they have a headset on or not. And he said they don't want to focus that right now on getting that seamless, because it's a big deal that if you're sitting there with a controller and you turn off your controller, you're like, okay, I want to do my headset now, and the Xbox dashboard is just not prepared for that. They had to kind of retool it for the Kinect even, and maybe they just feel like they don't want to do that stuff. But very interesting. I'm with Gaz. They will bring VR when it's almost too late, like when everyone's already jumped on the bandwagon, so to speak. Because isn't VR still a smaller thing, Asa?
It's definitely small, and I don't think there is a too late on that one. It's
yeah, I was going to say.
And at least in terms, if you look at the competition in terms of Sony and things, you have to be a bit more wary of Facebook. Sorry, Cognito, but Facebook's intent for VR is a bit different. They want to build it as a platform in the same way that Apple and Android dominate phones. Facebook from the outset, when they bought Oculus, it was because they wanted the next computing platform to be a Facebook platform.
They want VR to be synonymous with Facebook or vice versa. Like if you want to have the real VR experience, you get on with your Facebook.
Not even that. So they want it to be not just the real VR experience. They were anticipating, and this is a long time ago when the Rift was new, so they might have given up this dream, but their dream at the time was that VR would replace like a desktop PC, and rather than having Windows, you'd have Facebook's world. They want it to be the next computing platform.
MySpace.
If that were to happen, then you can see a scenario where too late is a term that's relevant. You could be too late if that happened, but that's not going to happen. So in terms of playing games, there is no too late for Microsoft. If it takes off, then they can respond.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, VR is so limited, especially in the audience reception of it. But we've talked about that. I think the PSVR hit 5% of the platform, which is not super great. I think they probably made their money back. But Don Taku says Asa being disrespectful by saying Xbox and Devolver were the only good E3 events when Nintendo's was just as good as Xbox's. Thank you, Don Taku.
I'd never disrespect Nintendo. I love my Switch.
Oh my gosh. I just don't watch the Nintendo show, but Nintendo's so far out in a different era where they just kick butt in everything they do in the past, decade. I don't even worry about it.
I mean, they do that well, but their show wasn't good. They had Metroid Dread, which turned out to be a great game, but the tiny slip of Breath of the Wild 2, there wasn't that much. What else? Shin Megami Tensei 5. I'm with you, Asa. Who's Donna Guitar? Get out of here, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of with.
I think that was.
I don't know. Right? You know what I'm saying. I just don't have anything bad to say about Nintendo. I've got 2 Switches here. I don't use them. My kids love them. I'm happy with that. Let them do their thing. They do no wrong, except for the way they charge online. Yeah. But let's see. We got. I jumped all over here a second. This is a great one. Smelly Wrestling Geek. Thank you so much for the $10 super. He says, "I see a guitar, and I see a keyboard. Yes, I do play. Well, I play by ear. I can only play limited things. But he says, do you play the drums as well, Colt?" No, I don't. I'm a great air drummer, but I don't think I could wrap my mind around the foot pedal and the hands. But the kick drum, I would love to learn how to play that. And I'm also a lead singer in a band that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, no, it's good. I've got For people who really, really know, I've got a music channel on YouTube. If you can find it, enjoy. Hargit Johnny with a $5 super says, people are like, where's Colteastwood music? I'm looking everywhere. Hargit Johnny with a $5 super says, could Xbox do an E3 level thing themselves? Oh, this is a great super. Well, all these are great. This is a great idea. He says, have others do their shows with Microsoft coordinating. Instead of the ESA, they obviously have the resources.
Get the content creators to do it. Come on, Phil. Let's make it interesting. Add some XNC, Source, Dealer, Iron Lords. Get the content
Can you
creators.
imagine?
How sick would it be?
Oh my gosh, can you imagine getting the RDX guys together with the Iron Lords and maybe let us scrubs get in that mix, and that'd be amazing.
It would be lit. It would be better than anything. 100%.
I mean,
I'm convinced it would be sick.
Unfortunately, anyone who's making a really great game can just put out a trailer at the week of E3 and it stands on its own, but we love
it's not
that
the community feel though. You want
you love the presentation and like everything put together.
Yeah.
I love it. One E3 I sat here. I cooked a steak on the barbecue and some steamed vegetables, and I sat here with a steak and watched the show and took notes. And there's like steak juice all over the paper, so I could make the video. Like, it's amazing. Don't take Gamer Christmas away from us. Udani Kuzada says, Asa Fest at the Colteastwood Theater in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, I love Kazakhstan.
I love it. I love it. Sleeping Vistas with Australian $5. Thank you so much, says Asa and Gaza with A-Z-Z-Z-A and Gaza. What's the Xbox fandom like in the UK? I know about outside Xbox, but other than GameOn Daily, who else should Sleeping Vistas follow in the Xbox realm in the UK?
Sus. That's it. Why waste your time? No, I don't know.
Can I give a plug? The GameOn Daily it's not just sauce videos of Gaza.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah, let me do it. Come on, let me do it. The GameOn Daily thing, guys. If you're slightly new or you've seen these guys around, they do a podcast on Saturday. They also do sauce videos, tech analysis videos. But the cream of the crop that they don't get enough credit for, that they need to push out there every second, and I think they try to, is they have an aggregate site, GameOnDaily.com, where if you go to it, no ads, and you've got aggregate of all of the latest news. You can click, and it takes you straight to each article. And I use it occasionally to either get topics for the show or to make a video because they do the legwork. Go check out their site. You become, you can sign in, be a member of the site so you can check it out. That's my plug for these guys.
And you can submit it yourself. Your YouTube, just copy and paste your link. It populates everything. It's so easy to use. 3 steps, your article's there. Boom.
Yep.
You want to be a journalist? Do it. Thank you, Colt.
You're welcome. And then block these 2 on Twitter. All right. There you go. No, we've got over 400 likes and we've had about 700 people watching. So thank you so much. We're going to get into some more topics. Hit the like button if you're having a good time. We're over here sweating bullets, trying to do the good work for you guys so you can have a good show. But these 2 are amazing. Thank you so much. This is XNC Podcast live on YouTube. It will be up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This is the main places where people listen to the show after the fact. You can put the earbuds in. You can go do deadlifts at the gym while you're listening to Gaz and Asa talk about VR and Water Egg 32. It's amazing. You guys are outstanding for the support. But let's see. We got one more. Z Black Rider with the Canadian $10. Says, great show. Asa is good, but Gaz just makes me hangry. So
I don't know how to take that, but okay.
You look delicious. You look delicious, I think he's saying. You look absolutely delicious. And I want one of those hats, by the way. I need to order a hat. So we've got another. I want to speed through this PlayStation thing because we spent a good quarter of the show talking about PlayStation. There's a rumor. This would be great for Asa because it's a very tech-minded question. There's a rumor that PS3 back compat was coming to Project Spartacus or whatever it's called, their new service, that all PS3 games would be natively supported on the PS5. Asa, explain to them how this could or couldn't happen.
Oh, that's mean. So the whole rumor was based on like some patents of some frequency adjustment on the processor, which means very little, and some prices appearing as a age-old PlayStation Now bug. There's very, very little substance to the rumor. The possibility of it is more interesting because we know that Sony couldn't do PlayStation 3 back compat on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro because the cell processor simply ran faster than the processor in the newer consoles. They could not replicate it on the hardware that they had. PlayStation 5 hardware is an order of magnitude more powerful in the areas that matter. That is a good thing. So is it technically feasible that if they had the desire to do it, they could revisit that and maybe make back compat work? Maybe, but they've never expressed a big desire to do that. I don't think it's come in.
Do you remember the Uncharted 2 running in emulation on PC at like 13 frames, like 10 years ago or whatever that was?
Yeah,
I remember looking at. Explain why.
On the PlayStation though, so you've got better processors in the PC. It's a very different architecture for one thing. So if everyone blah, 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 can't talk anymore. It is late though. So it's notorious, the cell processor in the PlayStation 3, right? It wasn't structured like a normal processor. You had like a single core that is equivalent to what you'd have in a modern processor, but you had 7 or 8 what they called SPUs.
Single coil.
Well, it was they couldn't run branching code. So they were very limited in what they could do. No. It had loads of cores. It had 7 cores and 1 for redundancy. There were a ton of cores in there, but only 1 proper core. So 1 that's like a modern processor that can run the code that you're used to, and 7 that were freaking fast, but really limited in what they could process with that speed. And they're the ones that they can't replicate on modern hardware because they were so fast. They were limited in what they could do, but they could do it.
And the games were built
and the games were made for that.
Yeah.
The games were made for that, and they were hard to build. But to get that running on modern processors, no. To get that running on modern processors is maybe possible. To get that running on the Jaguar processor in the PlayStation 4 was absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird to think about.
Appetite.
It is weird to think about because a what? An appetite for power?
I'm not saying that you should trust the appetite to do it, to put the work in to try and emulate a PlayStation 3.
I just remember forums where killer PCs were brought to their knees by trying to emulate a darn PS3 game because of the architecture difference where things just didn't work properly. So if you think that the killer power and the amazing SSD in the PS5 is going to bring your infamous 2 game alive on a PS5, there was some arguments going on about native back compat and how Xbox doesn't use native because they use emulation. I gotta hand it to you guys. I mean, it's all going to be emulated as far as back compat, I think. What do you think, Asa? Is that pretty accurate?
The problem that they've got is even if they did decide to go and work on this, if they can get 90% of the PlayStation 3 catalog to work, then they've done really well. But it's still not really good enough. Like, there's going to be such significant one. Well, yeah. There's going to... I mean, right now they're charging you to play... I don't think they do.
Right now they're charging you on a 720p stream on PSNow, which is being pretty much thrown aside, as we're hearing. This new service PSNow name will just be a thing of the past. Is what we're hearing. They've got to come up with a better way to get PS3 games playable on new hardware because they've locked away PS1, 2, and 3 generations, and they've charged people to play them on PSNow if they did for games they already own. I've said this before, and I know it's PlayStation related.
I don't want to interrupt too much, but question: when you say they've got to find a better way, do you mean that streaming isn't good enough, or do you just mean the model of like actually
streaming from a PS3 is not good enough? I've heard it's gotten better and better over the years, but what they should have done 5 years ago, Asa, was they have this entitlement system on the PlayStation. When if you got a game through PS Plus, you can load it up, install it, and play it. And if you bought a game digitally, you can load it up and play it if it's available on the platform. But if a game like, let's say you got Red Dead Redemption 2010 from PlayStation Plus back in the day, they should have allowed you several years ago to load that game up for free on the PSNow streaming service, even if you're not a member. They should have said, look, we want to give you back compat for the stuff you own. So if that game is in PSNow, we're going to let you play it for free without paying for the service. But they're charging you to use the streaming service instead of stepping up to what Xbox did with all this back compat. It was just a thing where competition is so important, and PlayStation didn't step up for their older titles that people paid money for, or they got entitlement to. So that's kind of that's a little soapbox I wanted to get on. But did you who's a John Carpenter fan in here? You know John Carpenter is. Gaz, you little silly face making dude.
I saw it. Damn it. No, I don't know who John Carpenter is. I'm an uncultured swine.
What? You don't have to be cultured. Asa, do you know who John Carpenter is? He makes movies and
I don't remember names. Oh, okay, now I do.
I think he's done a bunch of
Evil
scary movies and anyways, he's a huge filmmaker in America, and he was caught on Twitter saying that Halo Infinite was the best Halo in the series, and he just finished it.
Do you like the story? Because if he said that, he doesn't know.
He did.
Anything.
He said it was the best story. He loved it more than the story in all of the other Halo games. I read this actually. Yeah, he was waxing lyrical.
Wow.
Said he really enjoyed the way that the AIs were delivered, like humanized as well, despite being computers. He said that was the pinnacle of storytelling. And he's glad that he didn't witness anything that happened with Cortana.
He also said that his movies are 10 times better than Dune. So there's that.
Wow.
Now we got to trigger.
Psychopath,
We got to trigger Gaz because he thinks his opinion rules above all others. Now that was just something kind of funny. So one thing about we've talked quite a bit about the console sales, and Series S and X are doing really great. I mean, everyone owns the Series X in your scalper basement, but apparently the Xbox Series S and X have shipped 12 million consoles. And Sony hopes to, they've sold over 15 million at least. We kind of had this discussion on your show, and I think I had to be corrected a few different ways, but maybe Asa can remember where he thinks the console sales are sitting at, because they're not too far off, especially compared to last generation. So where do you think we're sitting with the console sales?
I think the numbers that you quoted were pretty much where they are. We don't know the numbers, like we haven't got hard numbers, but most sources seem to be saying that they're around there, right? We don't know the split between Series S and Series X. What's interesting is we know that both companies are absolutely restricted in terms of how many consoles they've been able to put out. Microsoft and Sony have just been pumping out PlayStation 5, so they've got one model of PlayStation 5 with or without a disk drive, but one thing that they make, and they make it, and they make it. Microsoft has had a way more complicated journey because they make obviously the two Xbox consoles, but they also have been pumping their hardware into the cloud and upgrading xCloud as well. So
yeah, we did try to
roundabouts for them because they offloaded a load of hardware they could have made, but you can make a lot more of the Series S chips out of the same like silicon than you can the Series X. So they've definitely boosted the numbers back up by pushing that Series S. And they said that they did that for Black Friday. They knew that was the console they needed to do for the sake of volume. They emphasized it.
So I was talking to Hargeet Chani about, we were trying to crunch the numbers about how many Series X chipsets went to the cloud. And we tried to come up with a number because there are 55, Gaz, you shut it. I'm just trolling him in the chat. There are 55 data centers around the world, and we try to figure out how many racks and chipsets are in there. So I think
55, because I don't think anyone uses xCloud.
55. Yes! So I think it's close to 1 million Series X chipsets of that were shipped and went out to the cloud. So you never know. I don't know if they count. I don't think they count that as shipped, or do they? Asa?
No, I wouldn't count it as shipped. Not shipped consoles, no.
So it's just kind of strange when you look at the PS5s, which is doing amazing numbers, even with some yield problems and some supply constraints and all that stuff that goes along with it. Boy, I really need to make a video about that, but I don't want to rack my brain too much. But you don't need a Series S or X, Asa. Like all their games come to PC, or if you want, just load them up on a phone. It's nuts. Yeah, like Xbox is doing amazing.
Suboptimal experiences. Yeah.
Suboptimal. Not on Asa's phone. Asa has a phone. It's like the size of my foot. It's huge.
Just like the Switch, I would not play. I'm personally not a mobile portable screen gamer in the slightest.
I'll be right here. Yeah.
And right now, I wouldn't touch cloud myself either. I appreciate and respect what they're doing with it, but not for me.
Not yet.
I don't know. Yeah,
The
but
tech
it's
needs to improve.
it is a sign of things to come. We did talk earlier in the show about how Xbox is kind of taking a more dominant and a leading part of what's going on. And I didn't get into the Phil Spencer thing. This will be the big one. He said that he was asked, "Are you surprised?" I pulled the quote
This
up.
is interesting.
I'm going to read it here. Ryan McCaffrey and Phil, we went so far off base and I almost forgot this. Ryan McCaffrey and Phil Spencer talked about the rumors about PS Plus, the new Spartacus set. And I'll read this quote directly. He says, "As you know," Phil Spencer said, "many of these things actually intertwine with themselves from backward compatibility in terms of a way of building out a library of games that we are shipping on PC and console simultaneously. Knowing that Game Pass is going to come and we want to bring Game Pass to multiple platforms, all of these decisions kind of stack on top of themselves. I don't mean to sound like we've got it all figured out," Phil Spencer says, "but I think the right answer is allowing your customers to play the games they want to play where they want to play them and giving them choice about how they build their library and being transparent with them about our plans in terms of our PC initiatives and our cross-gen initiatives," which is a great slight from the silver tongue of Phil Spencer to PlayStation. And he says, "and other things. So when I hear others doing things like Game Pass or coming to PC," and he's talking about PlayStation again, he says, "it makes sense to me because I think that's the right answer." And what I get from that statement is he's saying we're leading the industry. Gaz, take it away with your opinion.
Yeah, well, they are leading the industry, and he was trying to be modest and say, "Look, we didn't pioneer it, but we did. But it can be easily copied." And it's just like, come on, Phil, just stop it, just go for it, just say it. Like, yeah, we did this, and now they're copying us. Is what he wants to say. But ultimately, what's the interesting point from that is the fact that he says that he thinks it's inevitable day and date from PlayStation doing it as well. And you have to really listen to him when he says that, because he has the insight into the numbers. A lot of people talked about sustainability of this stuff, and he came quite strongly to say it's very sustainable now based on what we're seeing, and that's an early days. So when he's saying that it's inevitable for PlayStation to follow suit, it probably talks to the strength of the numbers they're seeing in their own backyard. Plus, you have to understand that, even though he is a competitor, they have a lot of contacts too. In order to be successful in this arena, you need to have some moles and stuff as well. So I'm sure that they have
some little spies.
Trust me, corporate espionage is a thing. It's Microsoft we're talking about as well. But ultimately, they will have some people with ears on the ground, and this is a big industry, lots of developers, and there's so many moving parts here, and someone talks all the time. So we find things out. So can you imagine what's like on a higher level?
It's so funny because we think that Phil might be talking to the community. Is he getting his pulse from the community? Is he gauging what the community wants? Or is he talking to influencers or whatever? It's he's obviously, when you read this statement, that he's talking to the people that make decisions, that are moving the industry leaders and the market direction. When he says
he could be playing an intricate chess game. For all you know, Microsoft and Shuei, Phil Spencer and Shuei Ishida hate each other, and all his statements is like a massive ploy. They're playing chess with words, and only they know the game.
And using some reverse psychology, maybe. Aso, chime in on this. What do you think is happening here?
If they're playing a game like that, it goes one or two. It's quite unusual for Phil Spencer to openly comment on what he thinks PlayStation are doing. So. Yeah. It was quite a casual interview, so maybe he was just being open and frank, but it's fairly likely that he knows something, and it could go one or two ways, which is really unhelpful. Either he knows that PlayStation are doing day and date in the near future, and he's presenting a strong front from Xbox saying, yeah, of course, that's not even a threat, that's inevitable. Or he knows that they're not doing that, and he's just applying heaps of pressure on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's completely unhelpful of me to use those two. Yeah.
Don't put it past Phil. You think he's a nice guy. He could be doing the latter, just making it look like putting pressure on and saying, of course they're going to do it, because it was such a chest beating exercise whilst trying to stay or appear to be modest. And maybe means in earnest, but come on, I'm not that naive. I'm with Asa on this. I think it's the latter part that I think it's him.
There is a lot because we see the way that people react on social media or on their YouTube videos about what they think is best. If you're having a good time, please hit the like button. We're like 50 shy of the goal that I'll get a tattoo that says Gaz and Asa, and then I'll go like this. No, but I really appreciate it's funny. Bye says everyone is brainwashed, but yeah, it is interesting how people react to this because you see a lot of this, right, Gaz? They say PlayStation doesn't need to sell their games on PC because they make far more money selling consoles, and if they bring their games to PC, they'll sell far less PS5s. How true is that?
I think we talked about this on our show. I think there is a little bit of truth there. I
don't really agree. I mean, I could argue with you guys on this. I just don't think that
in the Middle East.
I tell you what, you can't argue. Okay, you can't argue is it's not going to enhance their PlayStation 5 sales. It's going to take away from them to an extent.
Yeah.
How big that extent
how much
is
are they
debatable.
making? How much are they making every time they sell a PlayStation 5, Asa?
Oh, a little bit. I think they are profitable on the PlayStation 5 now, but
bucks?
that's not the point.
$2 or $3?
That's not how they look at it. It's not how much they're making when they sell the PlayStation. It's how much they're making from that person that's bought a PlayStation over that lifetime, right? They're
like
in that
the attached
at that point.
The attached customer that's going to stay there and
their environment,
spend money inside the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, think of how much money they made on God of War this month.
That's a good example, though, because that came out like 3.5 years after, and it did just fine. So if you're sitting there and you're Sony, is that a good strategy? Should they be going day and date, or
I don't think
or is it working well?
If I was Sony, I wouldn't do day and date. It's a no-brainer. Look at how God of War sold. Why? People want the quality. So I think
it's not a no-brainer. There will come a time. It depends because obviously, I mean, we've said before on this show as well. Phil Spencer often talks about there being 2 billion gamers in the world. The console space is maybe 200 million if you're lucky. So it's tiny.
Yeah, 250 is the number, I think.
At the point that Sony stop looking at their walled garden and start looking at that 2 billion, all kinds of things start to make sense.
Do they have to go mobile to reach 2 billion though, Asa?
Yeah.
I mean, we know Xbox is already pushing. They're pushing beyond the 200 million walled garden, right? They know that is very niche. We talked about this on your show quite a bit. I think on the last time I watched your show, you guys were talking about how the console it really is niche. We don't want to say it because it's a world we live in. Like, it's massive. The Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo world it's everything. There's no way it's niche from where we're sitting. But if you get outside that wall, there's people playing tons of games across all different platforms that are not on a console. So Xbox is already pushing beyond that by getting them on your smart TV, on your tablet, on your phone, on your browser, and on your PC. But what is PlayStation doing to get beyond 100 million or 200 million customers?
Yeah. What's Nintendo
100
doing?
million. What's that?
If you're looking at competition, what are Nintendo doing to expand beyond that console space?
Nothing.
Do they need to?
I don't know. They don't. They don't need to. And they're massive.
Does Sony need to if Nintendo don't need to?
I think the question would be, they're trying to emulate the Nintendo model, even down to the pricing, it seems. But their direct competitor is Xbox. And ultimately, because they're so comparable, the longer this goes on, the more pressure there's going to be on PlayStation to do this. I do think they can. They'll feel the pressure, Asa. I think. Look, immediately they won't.
Xbox are definitely the disruptive player in the industry at the moment, and whether Sony needs to respond to that disruption or not. If it works for Xbox, then they're going to need to eventually. But
I don't think PlayStation and PlayStation's fans thought that a game like Forza Horizon and a joke of a game that was shown in 2020 that was Halo Infinite would absolutely dominate the 2021 year. They were the biggest standout games. They were massive. And Xbox Studios won some great awards, were nominated for a bunch of awards. The mind share in the holiday of 2021 belonged to Xbox. And two big games that PlayStation fans thought was a joke and the other one was a racing game. They absolutely dominated mindshare for that moment. And when Horizon Forbidden West comes out, it will dominate that month next to Elden Ring. Like, those will be two major games to talk about absolutely over most anything. So there are those moments, and maybe PlayStation is sitting back and thinking, man, we were used to Xbox laying down or sitting on the bench, riding the pine, not getting it done with no money. And now Satya is like, you want the money? Here's the money. And they need to fix those deficits of games. And I'm going to take this a second here. I did a video about 6 months ago. Christopher Dring of Game Industry Biz proclaimed that Xbox's biggest games wouldn't come out till 2023 and beyond. And I did a great video explaining how he wasn't completely correct. It was really respectful because the guy is a force in the industry to sat down, talked to Phil and Jim. So he knows what he's doing and he sees things, but he was right. Xbox has seen a couple delays, and the biggest things are coming out right now, but the bigger year is next year, and they need to fix that deficit. I got a couple supers here. Wolf Assassin, thank you so much. Wolf Assassin's always hanging about with a $5. Thank you. Says, now that Rainbow Six Extraction and Hitman Trilogy, which I didn't mention, are coming to Game Pass day one, do you think there's any chance Elden Ring would come to Game Pass? We talked about that about 30 minutes into the show. I think all three of us said, nah. Give us a nah.
Nah.
Yeah, we don't think so, but we'd like to see Dying Light step up to the plate. Hargy Chani with the $5 says, Gaz, just curious, how many new games do the Middle Eastern friends buy on PlayStation? Depending on how much they buy and not secondhand would help or hurt Sony. What's the game price in the Middle East for a PlayStation game right now?
I don't know what Riyadh transfer.
I'd have to do like 9 Googles to get there.
Yeah, but I know, like, from my boys in the Middle East, it's PC and PlayStation. So they have to do it through necessity. So if games come day and date, they won't touch the PlayStation, and they buy the games day and date and the release. They buy the consoles. They would not be doing that. The Middle East is a very good market. Middle East, Asia as well, because piracy is dead as well. Let's be honest, I come from there, so I can say this, but over there, where
prove it
in PC, a lot of games are pirated because the financials, it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't scale well, trust me. Like, it's very expensive. So they're primarily PC gamers for a reason. So if you do that's why Game Pass is actually very successful in countries like Pakistan, apparently, and India. So yeah, I don't know, but I think there's a reason why PlayStation's hesitant. I understand their position. It's just Xbox is mounting so much pressure there. It'll be interesting to see how they react, but it really throws a spanner in their works and their long-term plans. Sony really must hate Xbox Game Pass, and I say the word hate. Mm-hmm. They must hate Xbox Game Pass.
It's such
really
a force
to them.
And it's been a trending thing for like a year going. Like, it is forefront in. I get a lot of crap for saying things like Xbox is leading the industry, and I don't mean the sales, but they are leading the way things should be going. How can you not like what they're doing? And I'm so hungry for biryani after you're talking about Pakistan and India. But shout out to you guys in the chat for getting me on that dish. I love it. But it is such a major thing. We got Dark CMF, who had to give the $5 super. Thanks, just made it in time to wish Gaz a happy birthday. You'll never live that down.
Every day is my birthday, apparently.
Danny Passion Official with the $2. Why not, man? After Netflix success, look at what we have today. And I love that stuff. I love the stuff you get on Netflix. They just raise the price too. Oh, and Dark CMF also wants to say he also wants to wish Gaz a happy birthday. So
another one.
You guys are amazing. And we were talking to Dark CMF on Xbox Live. And if you guys see me online, send me a message. We should chat sometime. I know you guys like sometimes we just hang out and play games, just have some laughs. But It is super late. It is 3 a.m. in the UK. Gaz and Asa have been amazing. I want them to take a minute to brag about what they're doing and where they're going with their content on their site and their channel, and just give you guys the limelight for a minute. You know, we had well over 700 people here watching at one time. Yeah, tell people what's up. Asa, you go first.
Oh, I was going to make Gaz go first. Gaz, you go first.
Oh, Ace is still cracking his knuckles.
Well, thank you so much for plugging GameOnDaily.com. It's more a platform than a website. I don't think we do a good job marketing it. We have some things in development as well. We have sunk a lot into it. If you're a content creator, just paste your article. If you see someone else's article, you can paste in 3. It's so easy. You submit articles there. So it's made for people. You want to get all your gaming news there, you can go on there. Lots
Paste
of things
it
developed
and
there.
forget it.
With a view to building a mobile app, so one day when we do our investment run, we will be the force we deserve to be. Yeah, right, Asa? Yeah. Please do check out GameOnDaily.com and register. Then the YouTube channel, you see source videos. We got a lot more coming. I've got a couple of videos in the works. Asa's a tech analysis guy. Basically, Digital Foundry are in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. But
One-man show.
Yeah, one-man show. So we've got a lot of content there. You saw the source video today. It's parody. It's fun. Don't try and cancel us. So yeah, do check out Game On Daily, one word, YouTube channel. We've got a lot of content incoming. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone in chat. You guys are brilliant. And Colt, thank you for the absolute honor and pleasure of having us on XNC. I'm famous. Can I get his autograph, please?
I'll autograph your peck. How about that?
Do it.
Asa, did you think of how you were going to brag about how amazing you and your site are?
No, I was just going to say, like, all those things that Gaz just said, like, absolutely, he's telling the truth on that one. So do go to Game On Daily, do check out our YouTube channel. Every Saturday, me and Gaz and some wonderful guests, including semi-regular Colt, we sit down and have chats just like these. So check those out if you don't already. And yeah, I'm also streaming on Twitch all the time, running around on my VR treadmill, stabbing stuff up, which is pretty entertaining too. What more is there? It's all the good things in life. So thank you again, Colt, for having us back.
You're so welcome. This is the XNC Podcast. Thank you so much. Lord Star Killer with 1 to sign us out. He says, Game Pass is the absolute best value in gaming. Spartacus will have a difficult time matching it. Nope. If they do day and date, they'll be just fine. So we do ask. Yes, we do ask if you want to compete, bring both feet into the fire, PlayStation, and bring day and date, and go on PC as well. Don't come in with a half-week effort and just come on, bring it real, because this is what the gaming community demands. Value. Hey, I saved $400 by playing on Game Pass in 2021 alone. I think I did the numbers. Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. This is the XNC Podcast. Give me about an hour for the show to wrap up, and after the fact, I'll get it up on Spotify and Google Podcasts, and a couple other places. If you're different, you check out Pocket Podcasts, a couple other platforms. We're there as well. I also get timestamps up, which I'll put in myself. They'll be generalized timestamps, but take them how you can get them. They will help you navigate through the show. Thank you so much, Gaz and Asa, for being on here. Go get some sleep. I hope work isn't going to be a dread tomorrow. You guys are both amazing. Wave and say goodbye if you want. Hey, I'll wave. I don't care. Yeah, do a little dance. We're getting out of here, guys. You're amazing. Thanks for checking out the show and supporting us. We are going. Oh, look at the dance.
Please sign out.